A British Grand Prix that comes a month early and a couple of hours early, but it's got everything. Temperatures in the 80s and the world champion on pole. A brilliant pole position for Fernando Alonso, who's never won this British Grand Prix. Will we see a more extravagant celebration in a couple of hours' time? Kimi Raikkonen would love to deny him that. He grabs a front row spot alongside Alonso and just edges Michael Schumacher onto row 2. But Jenson Button is way back. Yesterday, another of those days to forget.
Button's out. Jenson Button is not going to make it.
And David Coulthard, angry, frustrated, and out of the top 10. If there is a British backlash, it's got to come in the opening laps here at Silverstone, and it just might. Well, neither Jenson Button nor David Coulthard came to Silverstone fancying their chances in this British Grand Prix, so the problems of yesterday really sort of confirmed all their pessimism. They might yet make an impression, but at the head of things, Alonso, Raikkonen, Schumacher, the red arrows in the skies above us, this has all the ingredients to be one of those marvellous Silverstone occasions. So welcome to the British Grand Prix, proving that the sporting world is not entirely dominated by the World Cup, but it is a pretty close-run thing. But Mark Blundell with the Red Arrows doing their stuff above us and the crowds packed around the stands. An extraordinary atmosphere here today.
It's great atmosphere, as you say. You've got the weather, but that's going to be a key thing in this race today, Steve, with the tyre choice. But for me, the big thing is, been waiting all season long. Alonso, Raikkonen, Schumacher. We've got the three best racing drivers in the world. They're going to battle it out here at Silverstone.
And Jenson Button's problems doesn't seem to have taken the edge off what is to come in terms of the crowd's expectation.
I think, you know, they know that they've got those guys up the front there. They're going to be in for a great race, but obviously they'd love to see Jenson Button up there. And what a weekend so far he's had. It's been disastrous, but it could all come right to him now.
Well, the Silverstone crowd yesterday went through a whole range of emotions, sharing the frustrations of Jenson Button, the exhilaration of Fernando Alonso as he took pole position. And then just after 2 o'clock, they all gathered in front of those giant screens to share the relief of every other England football fan at England's winning start over Paraguay. Well, out in Germany, as the noise builds behind us here, well, Gabriel Clark has this morning's reaction to what England did yesterday.
Thanks, Steve. It's not quite sweltering Silverstone, but the Alpine summer sun is beating down on England's hotel, and the players today won't be going anywhere near that sunshine. Yesterday took its toll. They drank around 70 litres of water, the first team. The average is around 25 for a match, and most lost around 5 pounds in weight. So the next couple of days are simply about rest and recuperation. Rio Ferdinand, I'm told, is among those players who will be avidly watching the British Grand Prix this afternoon. But the real highlight for the rest of the team will be the arrival of wives and girlfriends here at the team hotel for the first time since they arrived in Germany. England didn't get any plaudits, really, for yesterday's performance, but they don't really care. There is, of course, that fitness concern over Michael Owen, which Sven will be monitoring over the next couple of days. But yesterday really was about laying solid foundations for the rest of the tournament. This is, after all, only the qualifying stage.
So all is well in Germany and here at Silverstone as the garages momentarily have gone quiet ahead of this British Grand Prix. We're going to concentrate on the big race build-up. And yes, it is qualifying really, well, it has to be described as disastrous from Jenson Button's point of view, but it was exhilarating for Fernando Alonso, and James Allen and Martin Brundle can reflect on it all.
Well, we had plenty of thrills at either end of the qualifying session yesterday. At the beginning, though, sensation. Jenson Button eliminated from the first knockout session. It's a little bit his fault, but a big part of the team's fault.
Yeah, they were too blasé about it. They thought a solid run on old tyres would get the job done, get them into the second phase. They were wrong. They didn't allow enough time for the random call that the teams can have into the weighbridge, and simply ran out of available qualifying time to get the tyres on and have a second go. He watched the rest of the session.
He was absolutely gutted, wasn't he? David Coulthard is not in the top 10 either. In his case, slightly controversial circumstances.
Yes, he tripped over Montoya. Montoya was trying to find himself some space and compromised the early part of the lap for DC. But still, I think he should be happy with 11th on the grid, ahead of the other Red Bull pack. And at least that's the first position available where you can choose your strategy, put whatever fuel level you want in. And I don't think he was going to be much higher than that anyway.
No, you're probably right. It'd be difficult for him to repeat the Monaco podium from there, though. But at the end, in the final pole position shootout, the three best drivers in the world today, Alonso, Michael Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen, all going for it. And in Raikkonen's case, he only just got the lap in, didn't he? About a second to spare before the checkered flag.
Yeah, just tense as he crossed the line just before the flag dropped, and then put a stunner in to split Alonso, who's on pole, from Michael Schumacher, who slipped back to third with a bit of a long face. Said, I didn't expect to be this far off the pace. It's only 0.3 of a second, but that's how close they are.
I don't think there's all that much to choose between them on pace, and it was very important for Alonso that Raikkonen got between him and Michael Schumacher. It's going to be great today, I think.
We set the car for this windy condition, and at the end we did it really close with Raikkonen and with Michael. But the good thing is we did it. It's the fourth time consecutive in the pole position this year, so I think we have to keep doing like this.
It's not gonna be easy, and we do the best that we can and see what happens. Like I said, it's nothing. We're not really in the championship fight anymore. Okay, it can by miracle happen, but we just do the best that we can and push us hard.
Better than second place probably for the grid position and the grip you have at second position compared to first and third and fifth position. So I hope that works out to our advantage.
So let's take a look at the grid for this afternoon's British Grand Prix. Fourth pole in a row for Fernando Alonso, first front row of the season for Kimi Raikkonen. Michael Schumacher still only one pole here in 15 years of visits. Massa alongside. Fisichella and Barrichello make up row 3. Row 4, Ralf Schumacher in the Toyota and Juan Pablo Montoya in the McLaren. For the first time this season, both BMWs make it into the top 10. Coulthard's 11th, Rosberg 12th. Row 7, Liuzzi in the Toro Rosso and Klein in the Red Bull. Then it's Speed and Montero on row 8. Webber was a victim of the first knockout qualifying session. And look at Jenson Button, 19th. What's he doing down there? Alongside a Super Aguri. At the back, it's Sato and Trulli. Both of them had engine problems.
Well, after the problems of yesterday, there is an air of determination around the Honda garage here, Mark. And the one good thing to come out of yesterday, they've now got a whole fresh range of options that they can go to today.
Definitely, they've got the flexibility now to change what fuel load they're going into this race with. They're not fixed like the top 10. So they can look at the race that is going on and just see whether they want to change strategy somewhat compared to those guys who are in the top 10. Obviously, Jensen's got a big task ahead of him. He needs a great start. If he can get 4 or 5 places on that first couple of laps, then his race is going to be long because he's going to be really, tooth and nail trying to get by those other guys there. But he's got progress to make and he can do it today.
It's all going to be done in those opening laps, so he can get into the points, so you feel?
Definitely. He can definitely get into the points. He's got a good enough car. We know the car's quick enough. Rubens is up there in a top 6. So definitely he's got a car underneath him. It's just whether Jensen's got some luck today, and we haven't seen much of it yet.
OK, let's check on the Drivers' Championship standings as we approach this halfway point in the season, coming into the 8th round of the championship. And there's the 21-point lead that Fernando Alonso has built over Michael Schumacher. Fisichella and Raikkonen together, a further 16 points back. It all emphasises how much Ferrari need to start winning again to prevent Renault's domination becoming complete. And as Ted Kravitz reports, Ferrari and Schumacher come here to Silverstone determined, but after Monaco, much maligned.
The Silverstone crowd are a witty lot and have been waiting since Monaco to give some good-natured stick to Michael Schumacher. But while this image will be a permanent addition to the list of Michael's past indiscretions, in the paddock at least there's a willingness to get some closure on the whole subject. Schumacher remains a director of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, although we understand he didn't apologise to his fellow drivers in their meeting here on Friday. Nevertheless, the lost points from Monaco have left Ferrari with a mountain to climb.
Clearly, we've got to catch up. There's no point in taking a conservative approach at the moment because second place is really not going to be good enough. So, we've been very aggressive on the improvements in the car and I think strategy. We've got to make sure we don't get caught out like we did in Barcelona where we felt we're in a strong position, but we end up with Fisichella between ourselves and Alonso and really gave the race to him.
We understood the problem we had at the Grand Prix in Barcelona. We have solutions for that, so there's no reason not to fight for the victory.
Suggestions that the Monaco incident could force Michael into an early retirement and thus give him more time to watch his beloved Germany play football have been dismissed this weekend by the man himself and by an old rival.
If you enjoy doing your work, if you're successful, you are healthy, and you're happy with your life, hey, come on, why not to continue?
Meanwhile, Williams have joined their old mate Jenson Button in qualifying well down the grid. Williams' problem is that they're one of the few top teams still to introduce flexi wings after the rules were clarified earlier this year, and it's really hurt them on Silverstone's Hangar Straight.
And here at Ferrari, Mark, what do you feel Michael Schumacher has to do in terms of rebuilding his reputation in front of this Silverstone crowd?
You know, as far as Michael Schumacher is concerned, he doesn't have to rebuild anything, Steve. He's quite content with what he said at Monaco. He's quite happy about the decision he made at that point. The problem is that the majority of this paddock still feels that it was the wrong decision he made on the day. I think he's going to go out there and he's going to try and win this event. He wants to just prove to everybody that he is the best in the world still, and 7 times world champion, who can doubt him?
In a way, that's his strength. He lives in this cocoon of self-belief and determination. He'll be mighty determined this afternoon.
You know, he comes into the paddock, his chest is pumped out, he's ready for anything that comes at him. And a Grand Prix is not a big issue for him. He knows what he needs to do, and watch him. I think he may well get it done today.
But having Raikkonen between him and Alonso is a bit of a setback, isn't it?
Raikkonen is the spoiler for me. He's got the pace this weekend so far, and that guy's electric. When he's on it, there's no one going to beat him, so I'm looking forward to this.
So it's great drivers doing battle, great drivers at the peak of their powers, but Silverstone is also about other familiar faces as well. Let's go to Ted Kravitz.
Well, it's a typical Silverstone scene, and Ricky Wilson from the Kaiser Chiefs and the rest of the Kaiser Chiefs and friends. This is better than a cold, rainy day in Leeds, isn't it?
Yeah, we're often seen down here, you know, living the high life. We are now international playboys, so this is the kind of thing we have to do.
So, first Grand Prix, what do you make of it all?
It's marvellous. There's a nice vibe in the air, isn't there?
Well, yeah, you can say that again.
But yeah, I've never been before. Whitey's been before. He came a long time ago. He camped, but yeah, we're just here. We're enjoying ourselves here with Honda, so we hope Honda go all the way.
So you're looking out for Jenson, but he's got a tough one from down there on the grid.
He has. He's right at the back, isn't he? I don't know what went on there, but they're just going to fill him full of fuel and you know, hope for the best.
And summer festival season coming up for you lot?
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. That's going to be good. We're doing a few, and it's just the best time of year for everything: music, motor racing, everything.
Okay, have a good race. Take it easy on all these girls.
Got to get back to the girls. See.
I'll stick with Mark Blundell. Stay professional. Whatever its place in the calendar, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone continues to pull in the crowds as the jewel in the crown of motorsport in this country. And what a prospect today. Just about the fastest circuit in the sport, the fastest men at the front of the grid. And we'll continue our build-up in a few minutes' time, talking to Jenson Button and giving news of an historic breakthrough for Louise Goodman. Here at Silverstone, we continue our build-up to the British Grand Prix. Certain amount of disappointment and frustration with what Jenson Button is failing to achieve out on the track at the moment, but a great deal of optimism and excitement about what Lewis Hamilton might achieve in years to come, because, Lewis, welcome. You've made the point again, and you've turned in another double victory in GP2 this weekend. How important was it to do it in front of this wonderful Silverstone crowd?
I think this weekend, you know, to be in front of the British crowd plus it's my first time here, is just the most phenomenal weekend I've ever had. And, you know, to have the best race today, and the amount of support we had. Usually you have a couple of people in the grandstand, but now you have such amazing support, and it was really special for me.
We're going to see all the highlights of what you did in next weekend in our coverage of GP2, our regular coverage, but there you are celebrating going across the line. Another step towards Formula One, everyone's going to be saying. What is the way forward for you?
Well, I'm working as hard as possible to get the second seat in McLaren here, as you can see. I just hope that my performance today, this weekend, has impressed Ron.
And McLaren, the team that you're associated with, at least at the moment, on the front row for the first time this season with Kimi Raikkonen. What might you learn this afternoon?
Well, I'll be watching closely to see, as I do with all the drivers here, but I'll be watching closely how Kimi performs, how he acts, and how he does his start. And I just hope that I hope they do well this week. They need to win this weekend.
And Kimi, I think, is getting ready in the background in the garage here. Do you pay close attention to his pre-race routine, or are all drivers different? Do you all do your own thing?
We're all different. We all have our own way of getting into that zone. But I think Kimi has a special way of doing it, sort of putting everyone out of his mind and staying focused. And I just hope that I can do that when I'm in Formula 1.
Well, you're getting it absolutely right at the moment. Keep it going. We'll see you in action, GP2, that double victory here at Silverstone in our coverage next weekend.
Thank you.
Enjoy the afternoon.
Thank you.
Lewis, thanks very much indeed. And all is tension here in the McLaren pit. Juan Pablo Montoya getting ready. But what a racing prospect. World champion on pole, 7 times world champion right behind. The man dubbed the fastest man in the sport, sandwiched in between. Jenson Button back in 19th, of course. That's the missing ingredient. But maybe he'll put that to rights in some storming opening laps. He'll be urged on by a crowd basking in the heat here. And it's not even midday yet. Spare a thought then for Louise Goodman, who dons the heavy overalls as our pit lane reporter. But at least today she has the consolation of creating some pit lane history.
I used to work alongside a lot of these guys, but in my 5 years as press officer at Jordan Grand Prix, there was one aspect of the team's operations I never got involved with. If all goes according to plan, I'm going to be taking part in a live pit stop during the race. Now, Andy Stevenson's in charge of the pit stops. What do I need to look out for?
Basically, Lou, first off, make sure you don't get run over as the car comes into the pits. And then secondly, we're going to ask you to take this rear left wheel off. What we're going to do now is do some practices.
Let's go. No pressure then. It's a bit nerve-wracking with everyone watching, isn't it? Come on, carry on. You do your thing too. That's third place gone. Sorry about that.
Sorry for that.
We need a bit of a wiggle as it comes
Might
on.
give it a bit of a smack as it comes.
Okay. Yay! Sorry.
No wheel.
I presume it just becomes second nature at some point, does it?
Yeah, just keep yourself calm. It just becomes a routine.
You need a bit of adrenaline in order to...
Just again tomorrow, is it?
You have faith. More practice, definitely.
Good stuff.
It's Saturday night, time for another pit stop practice. I've got my team radio and all my kit on to make it more authentic for this one. This is the big one. This is the one that decides whether I can take part in the race or not. So wish me luck.
Okay, in again.
The trick is to try and hold the weight on my left hand and then just push like this with my right hand. That's what I'm told anyway. It doesn't always work out like that.
Pull it back just a little bit faster, will be perfect.
Okay, just getting the nod of approval from a man here. There's so much to think about, not just what you're doing. See, there's a lot to think of.
Okay.
Now I'm starting to get competitive.
Okay then, thank you very much. I think you qualify for tomorrow's race.
Yes, I mean, it's coming together now, famous last words. I'm sure it'll be totally different when I've got a car coming down the pit lane at me. So that was the easy bit. Now we've got the difficult bit coming up. Johnny, do you reckon I'm ready for it?
No, you're doing all right. We've been obviously watching you doing a couple of the practices and you've been absolutely perfect. I don't think you've actually made a mistake yet, which is great. So just keep that up.
What's going to be the most difficult thing for me, do you reckon?
Well, I think it's just going to be in the heat of the moment. I think that's the biggest thing. It's one of those things, it's a mind game because you're going to be there, everything's going to be going on and you're going to be wanting to do it as quick as you possibly can. Hopefully the panic won't come in, which is always the thing. You just take it easy like you've been doing, there won't be a problem.
Wish me luck, I'm starting to get nervous.
I will do. You'll be fine.
Well, this afternoon, Midland. Maybe in a couple of weeks' time, Louise will be with Ferrari as the cars start to head out on the circuit. I'm sure Michael Schumacher will be watching Louise's performance with some interest. But just at the moment, behind us here in the Ferrari garage, he's got other things on his mind as the car is fired up and the crew take the tyre warmers off and Michael Schumacher gets set to head out onto the circuit in front of those sometimes critical banners that are being waved around this Silverstone circuit, but plenty of Ferrari flags as well. Michael Schumacher on his way. Okay, all the qualities that we've been seeing in a successful pit stop just a few minutes ago, speed, organisation and efficiency, those qualities have been transferred by Formula One into another vital area, that of healthcare, and that's Juan Pablo Montoya just heading off. Formula One has always had a great association, charitable association with the Great Ormond Street Hospital, and it's in that famous institution, as Ted Kravitz reports, that all the qualities of pit stops are starting to help to save lives.
We've come to a posh location in London's West End where familiar faces from the worlds of Formula One and showbiz have gathered to raise money ahead of the British Grand Prix for Great Ormond Street Children's Charity. The evening featured an F1 themed auction, and when you've got Bernie Ecclestone and Flavio Briatore in the audience, neither of whom are exactly short of a few bob, you're going to get some big numbers. Both bid generously, and over £150,000 was raised. Back at Silverstone, Jenson Button and Giancarlo Fisichella have been helping entertain 80 Great Ormond Street patients and their families.
It's just nice to see some smile from them, and it's not a problem for me spend time or give some money to them.
We're in a position where we can make a difference, and it's good that so many people within the paddock have helped out.
But the F1 connection goes deeper. Consultants at the hospital have been using F1 pit lane know-how to improve the way they hand over patients from the operating theatre to intensive care. This is just as critical a time as the operation itself, so doctors visited Ferrari HQ in Maranello to learn about how Grand Prix teams perfect their procedures and communication in what for the patients is a time when every second counts.
In a way, the handover I see as a pit stop, where the first sector of a race is the operation, and then you have the handover of the patient being like a pit stop, and then the patient's recovery, particularly in the early phase after the operation, is crucial, would be like the second sector of a race.
So they were looking at sort of Formula One as a base to see how we improved and looked into our problems, resolved our problems, analysed the problems, and also documented.
The first thing Nigel asked us, well, who's in charge of the process at every step? And so we introduced that into our handover, that there are two phases where it's very well identified who's in charge. The anaesthetist in the first phase, and then the intensive care specialist in the second phase.
It's been a massive success. Doctors have been able to save more children's lives by using the same disciplines that skim seconds off an F1 pit stop.
We're at the beginning of this process and there's a long way to go, but we also hope that it can help other handovers of patient information in other areas of medicine.
They were amazed at what we did as a group, but looking at what they did was just mind-boggling. It was absolutely incredible.
Formula One expertise transferring to other areas, which is always great to see. Now, as the cars start to assemble on the grid, chance to have a quick word with Damon Hill, previous winner of this British Grand Prix, of course, at Silverstone, but now, more importantly, president of the BRDC, and with the responsibility for the future of this event here at the Silverstone circuit. A day like today, a moment like this, really underlines how important it is.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. We're very, very proud, and we're very, very pleased that Mr. Ecclestone congratulated us yesterday on the state of the circuit. That's a positive indication that things are going the right way, and we want to build on that for the future.
Exactly why is it so important, both to British motorsport and to Silverstone as well, to keep the British Grand Prix here?
Well, it has an enormous effect on not just motorsport in this country, but it has an enormous effect on the image of this country worldwide. And it's a huge event, a Grand Prix, as you know. And it's really important to keep it here. We've had one since 1950, since the very beginning of Formula One. It's a central part of motorsport in this country.
It's meant a great deal to both you and your family down the years, of course. What are your thoughts for what lies in store today?
Well, I hope it's going to be a very, very exciting race. I think that this year's shown that you just need two guys out there really knocking, the bells out of each other, and you've got a fantastic show.
Well, David Coulthard is heading onto the grid, and we saw Jenson Button there as well. Quick thought from you about the British Challenge. I know the BRDC would like to see them a little bit further up that grid, but sometimes these things don't happen.
Well, obviously, a British driver at the front helps our ticket sales. But we still sold a lot of tickets. I think that just shows that the show is not just about British drivers here at Silverstone, but we would love to see a British driver up there. And if the BRDC can actually have a part to play in getting talent through for the future, then we'll see what we can do about that.
OK, Damon, thanks very much. There's Kimi Raikkonen, who'll be taking his place on the front row of the grid. Now, Jenson Button, I talk to him every Saturday evening during the course of the season, and these conversations were meant to chart Jenson's progress towards a first Grand Prix victory, but instead they've become rather a catalogue of frustrations and problems and disappointments, never more so than yesterday afternoon when he failed to even make it through the first stage of qualifying. Jenson back in 19th position. Jensen, I'm sure you've had the inquest, you've analysed it all. How did the sorry tale unfold?
My first lap wasn't great, and it put me, I think, about 8th or 9th when I actually did the time, which would have been fine. You know, it's not a problem at all. I came in and getting ready to fit new tyres because we weren't sure where we would end up, and I got caught into the weighbridge, which you can be done at, you know, you can be caught in at any time. It cost us about 3 minutes, and we couldn't get back out again in time. So there's a bit of a miscalculation with the time that we had. And if I'd got back out there again, it would have been easy, really easy to get inside the top 10 on the first run.
Home crowd is magnificent, they're loyal, they're supportive. It must be quite humbling driving around and seeing those banners and seeing that support.
Well, it's humbling, but it's also really difficult, especially when you have a bad weekend like this, you know, because you're not repaying them as you would like for supporting you. So it is difficult on a weekend like this. You know, I've got to say sorry to them really for qualifying, and as you know, as a team, we didn't get the job done as we should have done. I'm not going to say we're unlucky because you can be weighed at any time during a session. We just didn't think it would happen to us at that point in time.
Michael showed in Monaco what can be done off the back of the grid at the toughest of circuits. So what's the mindset for the start tomorrow?
Well, you know, Michael's car is probably the best out there, so you know, he is helped by that. But even so, you know, I think we can have a, you know, I think it's going to be exciting more than anything else. That's the best way to describe it. Hopefully a lot of overtaking. And we'll see where we end up. You know, I'm not going to say I'm going to finish 8th. I really don't know if that's possible, but we'll have a good go at it.
The luck is going to change. You're confident of that, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, some of it is unlucky, and some of it is just, you know, we're not as quick as we thought we would be, and you know, it does change the outlook on things a little bit, and we all need to sit down and discuss that on Monday. You know, I think that we understand where we went wrong in qualifying, and we need to change that for next time. You know, it's not good enough to be where I am on the grid. This is it's quite embarrassing, really. But we can't do anything about it now except learn from it and have a good race tomorrow.
Well, whatever the race holds, Silverstone is ready to cheer you on, I'm sure. All the best.
Thank you.
He has had good times at the British Grand Prix, and it was 2000 that Jensen first drove in this race. That was the answer to the competition question we set at Monaco 2 weeks ago. Nicholas Hancock from Emsworth was the winner, and a few minutes after that interview yesterday evening, Jensen was presenting the prize with a flourish.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Jensen.
Here's your new motor car.
Thank you.
No problem.
Enjoy.
Enjoy, you will, as much as me, probably.
And this week's competition has an equally decent prize.
To celebrate the release of Cars, the new animated film from the creators of Toy Story on the 28th of July, Walt Disney Pictures and Pixar Animation Studios are offering you and a friend a chance to attend the United States Grand Prix on the 2nd of July. You'll fly to Indy, stay 2 nights in a 4-star hotel and watch the race from the paddock penthouse.
Well, my oil pressure's through the roof right now. If this gets any more exciting, they're going to have to tow me out of the booth.
You'll then fly on to San Francisco for a further 3-night stay, taking in an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of the Pixar Animation Studios. And as if that wasn't enough, you'll also get a PSP console, a Cars video game, and some special merchandise thrown in.
Oh, he's got it in the bag. Call in the dogs, put out the fire. We're going to crown us a new champion.
To be in with a chance of winning this fantastic prize, just answer this easy question. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is in which US state? Is it A, Nevada, B, Kentucky, or C, Indiana? The number to call is 0901 293 2020, or you can text F1 plus A, B, or
Sooner
C
rather than later, 3 minutes might do it, yeah.
Calls and texts cost £1 per entry, plus the standard network rate. Lines close at midnight on Thursday the 22nd of June, and we'll announce the winner in Canada.
Information on all ITV's F1 activities is on the website, and the chance to put your Formula One questions to Mark Blundell. He'll provide answers in our Question Mark feature, which he does now.
Lauren Sapsed from Hertfordshire asks, what's involved in bringing every inch of this 3.2-mile Silverstone circuit to the viewers at home? Well, it's ITV's home race this weekend, and it's our turn to provide the coverage which goes out to the global F1 audience.
It takes over 200 people to bring this footage to the TV screen. This involves 40 track cameras plus onboard footage from each car. A helicopter and hoists up to 72 metres allow coverage of the whole track.
And this is the area that's key to it all, the TV compound. I'm sure you'll agree it's not as glamorous as the Formula One paddock, but this really is the nerve centre to the whole TV operation. This area is full of technology, but all the focus is on this truck. The director decides what race and action to bring to a worldwide audience of over 50 million viewers per race. So there you have it. A huge operation is required each race to bring the exciting action to your living room. It is a vital part of the Grand Prix circus.
Well, David, yesterday was a bit fractious, wasn't it? You were very angry with Montoya. Has all that kind of been cleared up now?
Yeah, absolutely. No, the steward took a look at what they could see in the video evidence, and they obviously decided there was no reason to take action. You know, for me, it was more about the speed. So I think it was the data that would be able to show that. I had to drive so slowly before I could start my lap. But anyway, I guess that's down to drivers finding their place on the track, and we just have to get on with the main business of going racing.
Points today?
Well, we're not that far out of them to start with. Obviously, it's going to take good strategy, or you know, if there's some reliability issues up front. So clearly, that's what we're aiming for.
Thanks, David.
So the umbrellas are up. The heat is beating down on that Silverstone grid. Grid forming for the British Grand Prix. Always a great moment at the home of British motorsport. Patrick Head with Mark Webber. They're also a fair way back down that grid. But out on the Silverstone grid, a location he knows so well, Martin Brundle.
Thank you, Steve. How happy am I? This is fantastic. Do you want some extremes? Well, sunshine and Silverstone. The RAF Central Band have just been playing. I'm sure they'll fire up again shortly. But there's another extreme then is Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses. I saw him on the grid somewhere. You can't really miss his hairstyle. Here he is now. We're going to dive in. Axl, welcome to the grid. Welcome to the jungle that is the Formula One grid. No November rain here today. We've got some amazing June sunshine. What brings you here today?
The excitement of F1.
Are you a fast driver? You know, you into driving cars fast? You ever raced?
I have some fun cars. I've never raced, but not driving fast like this. Not yet. I'm going to take some lessons.
Now, your voice is incredibly powerful. Do you reckon you could outball one of these V8 Formula One engines?
No, that's pretty loud. Very, very loud.
I heard somewhere that you sing so loud sometimes that you've got blood coming out of the back of your throat. Is that a true story?
No. Hopefully not. No, never want that to happen.
Okay, you're here with McLaren today, and are you following this team particularly? Why are you here with these guys?
Oh, they were just kind enough to invite us down to the thing, but it's like I watch all the different teams.
All right, well look, have a great day's motorsport, and it's good to see you. Let's wander around, see who else we can find on the grid. I don't know if Alonso is here anywhere. Is Fernando about? No, I don't think he is. We'll try and catch him as we get. This is fantastic. The first three drivers on the grid. We've been waiting so long for this to happen. Fernando Alonso, Kimi Raikkonen and Michael Schumacher. Surely the best three that there are around at the moment have made it. Flavio, you're not... this is with Willie Webber. Are you just cutting a deal for next year with Michael?
Done.
Tell me you're not leaving Formula One.
No. What you talk? You talk with Willie or with me?
No, you.
No. If you stay, stay.
Okay, good man. Let's wade in here. Right, let's wander. Here's Gary. We heard all about Lewis Hamilton early on in the McLaren stable, and he's doing a fantastic job. You're also a test driver for McLaren. Welcome to the grid. How's it going?
Great. Yeah, it's great to be here at my first British GP as an F1 driver. So no, it's great to be here. McLaren on the front row.
Well, you're the reigning DTM champion, and obviously we're hoping to see you on the grid. We may need as many British drivers as we can next year. You think there's a chance?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's going well with McLaren. There's a few seats up for grabs here and there. So yeah, next year would be great.
All right, we're really looking forward to seeing you, Bernie.
We need him.
Yeah, we do. We need all the youngsters we can get on the grid.
Absolutely. Be careful what you say about youngsters at the moment. A bit sensitive. We need guys like him, I tell you.
So you're looking extremely relaxed. You've won the war against the teams, haven't you? You won the battle.
Never was a war.
No, you're sure, but you do look like you're particularly happy with the way things are going. Formula One settling down, you can get back with promoting it a bit.
Yeah, I think we've got all the nonsense out of the way. So you quite rightly say we can get on and promote Formula One as it should be promoted.
Okay, well I'm going to wander. I just want a quick word with Randy Mamela. This guy, ex-MotoGP 500 Grand Prix rider. You took Michael Schumacher on a two-seater motorbike. How did he? I heard he might have just been a little bit scared.
Yeah, he said it was pretty scary, but I showed him what MotoGP was all about. It's great to be here at Silverstone on the F1 grid.
Okay, good to see you, Randy. There's somebody I want to see back here who's with Rubens today. He's back P6 on the grid, and I'm not going to get as far down as Jensen. I feel so sorry for Jensen. I just wish he was up where he deserves to be. We'll get a quick chat with, I have a feeling this is the guy, the lead singer. It's a musical day. Lead singer from...
I'm no lead singer.
Okay.
I'm the keyboards.
Okay, from the Kaiser Chiefs. Well, I have to say I don't have all of your CDs,
Why
but...
not?
Well, you know, it's they're not ones I'm collecting at the moment. Listen, your name's Peanut, isn't it?
Yes.
That's not your real name, of course.
Certainly not.
Okay, so what brings you to the grid? You with Honda today?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, they've been very kind to us, and yeah, they got me down here, and I'm just I'm kind of overwhelmed by the noise, you know, and the just like that over there. It's quite amazing, yeah.
Yeah, well, you wait till they get going. You will not believe the energy as these 22 cars leave the grid. Something like, what is that, 18,000 horsepower or something about to leap off this grid. It's incredible.
That's a bit more than my new car, yeah.
Okay, good stuff. It's good to see you. We haven't had an MRP. We haven't had a Marty's random person this year. Let's just... Hello, excuse me. Got a few million people here. I'd like to know who you are.
From Foster's, Australia, Adele.
Okay, so you're working with Foster's, and are you sponsors of this Grand Prix or something?
Exactly right. Fantastic brand. So, fantastic race.
Good stuff. So who are you supporting here today? Who do you want to win?
Alonso.
Okay, I think he's got a great chance. Back to Steve.
How do they all get on that grid? And Martin has worn himself out, and he's still got a commentary to do, and he's got a commentary to do on what is promising to be a pretty spectacular race. Maybe not for Jenson Button and Honda, though, and Jenson has taken his place way at the back of the grid, but right behind Mark Webber, who will have similar intentions to make progress through the opening laps, Mark.
Definitely so. Those two guys really did get sort of penalised in a qualifying format. But Jenson there, you know, he looks relaxed, and as ever, he's always got a smile on his face, but behind that smile is some huge frustration. He really would like to deliver in front of the home crowd. You cannot underestimate what it means to a drive to turn up for the home Grand Prix, Steve. And Britain especially really is the home of motorsport. We've got great fans here, immense enthusiasm, and that guy there would love to deliver a result. Somehow it just don't feel it's going to be there for him today.
Yes, it was interesting to hear him talk about feeling rather guilty about not delivering for this home crowd. In a way, Fernando Alonso, who is making his way in leisurely fashion to pole position or up the pit lane, home Grand Prix for him, lives in Oxford, and of course the team is based just a few miles away from here as well.
Oh, definitely. The team's very local. They've got all of the factory guys here who do the workload behind the scenes and don't get a lot of credit for it, but definitely I think Alonso's got a huge chance. Obviously he's the quickest man we've seen over recent races, but that man there, Michael Schumacher, is key to this race, as is Kimi Raikkonen. There's going to be some fireworks at the front of the grid.
And as concerns the front of the grid, what do you judge the tactics to be? If we assume that they're all on two stops, what about the initial fuel loads?
Well, it'd be interesting to see. We always know that McLaren run deep into the first part of the race. They tend to run a heavier fuel load than most. Renault and Ferrari have played games the last few races, and tactically have been at the wit's end with the two guys there, Ross Brawn and Pat Simmons, trying to work out each other's strategy. But this is going to be something very special today, I'm hoping, because I feel that Renault and Ferrari are going to be quite evenly matched, and McLaren may have a little bit of extra fuel. If they've got the pace to go with it, we're in for a real cracking race.
Fernando Alonso there, taking the shortcut onto the grid. An emotional winner in Barcelona, a brilliant winner in Monaco. Monaco was all about concentration. This is all about blinding speed, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know the big thing with Alonso, that guy there is able to absorb pressure like I haven't seen anybody before at such a young age. David Coulthard getting strapped in. He too is having some frustrations. He kind of wanted to lay some blame down at Montoya, but that seems to have been overlooked. But Alonso, going back to him, the guy does absorb pressure like I've seen nobody else, even more so than Michael Schumacher. And we've seen some chinks in his armour over the years, but Alonso, I haven't seen him crack under anything at this point.
So a tremendous high-speed race coming, and just the kind of challenge that Fernando Alonso will be relishing. He's made such a defence of his World Championship title, and victory here would just confirm him even more strongly as potentially the 2006 champion as well. But I wonder what drama awaits in these opening laps here, not only from Alonso, from Raikkonen and Schumacher at the front, but also from our man, Jenson Button, at the back. We shall know in just a few minutes from now.
So вами вновь РЕН-ТВ, российский голос Формулы-1 в прямом эфире с трассы Сильверстоун, которая буквально через 5 с небольшим минут примет у себя в 40-й раз в своей истории Гран-при Великобритании. Это будет 8-й этап чемпионата мира 2006 года. И собравшиеся здесь зрители, естественно, будут болеть за британцев. Один из них, который уже успел переодеться из своего гоночного комбинезона, сейчас между Роном Деннисом и Стирлингом Моссом. Вы видели молодого темнокожего человека, это Льюис Хэмилтон. Вчера он стартовал с первой линии стартового поля следом за своим соотечественником Адамом Кэрроллом и выиграл гонку. Кэрролл приехал третьим, так что радости британских болельщиков не было конца, естественно, особенно на фоне не слишком удачной квалификации британцев в Формуле 1. И то же самое только что сегодня с утра Хэмилтон повторил во второй гонке. Вновь у него победа, и вновь Кэрролл, кстати, приехал третьим. Соответственно, Хэмилтон сейчас с огромным отрывом уже к середине сезона лидирует в чемпионате Гран-при 2, и многие называют его в числе возможных партнеров Фернандо Алонсо.
It's British Motorsport's big day, Silverstone's big occasion, and always a time of extreme tension in Formula One. The final countdown to the British Grand Prix, round 8 of the Formula One World Championship, and taking us through it, Martin Brundle and James Allen.
Thank you very much, Steve. What a beautiful sight. Silverstone in bloom, the summer, and a race about to unfold. Well, in a packed summer of top quality sport, the British Grand Prix has had to move a month earlier than its normal July date, but it's certainly not dampened the enthusiasm of the passionate and knowledgeable British crowd. It's had one unexpected benefit, with 4 days of unbroken sunshine and some great on-track action as well, as we've come to expect really over the years from Silverstone. These three men, Alonso, Schumacher and Raikkonen, at the front of the grid for this afternoon's Grand Prix. After grabbing pole position yesterday away from Raikkonen and Schumacher, Alonso said, "We at Renault are the strongest." Well, he's certainly going to need to be to overcome the jinx of the Silverstone pole sitter. Only twice in the last 10 years here at Silverstone has the driver on pole position gone on to win the British Grand Prix. This is a difficult race to win, just like Monte Carlo a fortnight ago. Things happen here, and it's a track that really tests the drivers and the machinery. Well, certainly it was very close at the front between the three best drivers in the world at the moment. Schumacher perhaps a little dismayed to qualify third, but he said that he believes Ferrari are carrying more fuel, his car, than Alonso here. And, well, if he's right, then he'll have a better strategy for the race. But what if the 0.3 of a second that Schumacher here was slower than Alonso yesterday in qualifying? What if that's accounted for simply by the fact that Alonso did a better job, Martin? These two cars are extremely well matched. We've seen that over the last couple of months. And I was just talking to Sterling Moss underneath the GP2 podium. He'd gone to talk to Lewis Hamilton to congratulate him on the win. He was saying he feels that Schumacher now is on the downward slope of his career, that he would put Raikkonen and Alonso on their own, and that Schumacher's on the slide. If that's right, then these races now, this period of this championship, are crucial for Schumacher to show that it isn't the case.
Yeah, certainly I would agree with Sterling, something I said at the beginning of the season. It's extremely close, but on the same day in the same car, I think Alonso and Raikkonen can just shade Michael these days, but we are talking fractions, and if Michael's got a better package or a better tyre this afternoon, he will go and win the race. Two things that fascinated me in the press conference yesterday. Alonso said, yes, I made a little mistake on my first effort, then I had a normal lap and I put it on pole. So for him, a normal lap is a perfect lap. He didn't say, I had a great lap or it was stunning or anything, just it was a normal lap. And Michael, having just done 3.2 miles at the thick end of 150 mile an hour average, said, I can't believe how far off the pace I am. I'm 0.3 of a second, didn't expect to be that slow. And, you know, it's the click of your fingers, isn't it? It's just extraordinary. But that's how close they all are out there. And Michael then disadvantaged on the second row of the grid. Montoya was saying to me, I'm on the inside, it's the dirty side, but my experience of, I don't know, 10 British Grand Prix starts here and other races, there's a lot of grip on the inside at Silverstone. It's not necessarily the dirty line. And we saw in the GP2 race as well, them all getting away quite evenly. So I think people on the inside can still scamper up, but Cops will be so fast, and they're still quite tight together as a pack, aren't they, when they get to the high-speed Beckett's too. So a challenging first few corners before they'll string out into a line down Hanger Straight.
Well, Kimi Räikkönen yesterday after qualifying said, look, I'm not in the championship hunt really between Michael Schumacher and Alonso. Alonso currently on 64 points, Schumacher 43, and Räikkönen's down in 4th on 27 points. So really, I've got nothing to lose tomorrow. Starting on the left-hand side, as you can see, of the front row of the grid. Remember last year where Montoya, in that same position with Alonso on pole, scampered down the inside of him into maggots on the first lap. Great acceleration off the line, something we hadn't expected to see, but particularly in this instance, with Räikkönen having nothing to lose, he knows, and Alonso knows, that he can go for it here this afternoon and really try and control the field. So that will definitely be something to watch out for off the start line as everybody starts to get ready to pull away. 2 Ferraris there on the second row of the grid, and you saw the grid crawler before with Jenson Button shown down in 19th place and David Coulthard 11th, and Button, Martin, earlier in the programme, apologising to the British fans for his qualifying performance. He knows how much they support him, how much effort they give to supporting him. He feels embarrassed and he's very, very sorry. And what a thing for a Grand Prix driver to have to say on British Grand Prix Sunday.
Yeah, I feel so sorry for him. We all support Jenson, we all want him to do well, and well, I fear he's not going to get much chance this afternoon, but plenty more races to go this season, and he's got to keep his chin up. He really has, because he's got the speed, he's got the skill, he's just got to find a way to deliver it. It wasn't his fault that he's back there on the grid, but whatever strategy he chooses to run, if you're outside of the top 10 these days, you really are just going racing on a different strategy to try and steal a few points. You're not out there to get a podium unless there's a lot of accidents or unreliability, and only one car dropped out of this race last year. You do tend to have decent reliability. The only thing I would say, with a track temperature of 40 plus, we have seen them on more used tyres struggling to stay on the road. We may see even some of the grandee teams and drivers struggling and hanging on to the edge of a few gravel traps and even runoff areas if they start running out of rear grip.
Well, Silverstone has been the home now of the British Grand Prix consistently the last 20 years without a break. It's been the home of the British Grand Prix going back to the very late 40s and early 50s, of course. But it used to share the venue, the event with Brands Hatch now in the last 20 years, all on its own. And a tremendous crowd has turned out here this afternoon. They're not going to see a race of the equivalent of Mansellmania, the great days of '92 when 130,000 people came here and then poured onto the track at the end to celebrate a wonderful home victory. It's a fairly low-key effort from the Brits, certainly as far as Formula One is concerned this weekend. But nevertheless, 3 tremendously potent drivers, all hungry for victory at the front, with an ample supporting cast. And we've seen many great British Grand Prix over the last 4 or 5 years. Lots of overtaking, some wonderful corners, real signature corners here. Copse, Stowe, Beckett's flat-out bridge corner. And hopefully we'll get some great onboard shots here this afternoon, and you'll be able to hear how much the drivers are flat on the throttle and barely use the brakes at all in the first half of the lap. It really is breathtaking how quick they are in the early part of the lap.
Alonso frightens the life out of the Renault team when he flicks his car around as much as he does, even more aggressively than most of them. They're just trying to find any heat they can to keep the pressures up, give them some kind of launch. Now, they've been practicing all weekend their starts, the clutch, bite point, everything will be set, the target revs. They will be desperately trying to get maximum grip off the line and a good run down to turn 1. And part of that process is to be sure they've got a consistent amount of tyre pressure and temperature.
It's a slightly curved grid here at Silverstone, one of its many characteristics. At the back there, Jarno Trulli, who had an engine failure yesterday in the first part of qualifying. So he lines up alongside Takuma Sato on the back row, and in front of them is Jenson Button on the right of your screens, right at the very back of the grid. Charlie Whiting, one of many Brits that important positions in Formula One. He's the race starter and race director. When the lights go out, the British Grand Prix will be go. Away they go. Good start by Räikkönen. And look at Alonso already looking in his mirrors to see where the McLaren was. The 2 Ferraris tucking behind. Someone's made up a lot of ground. It's one of the BMWs that's made up a couple of places. A tremendous start then by one of them as they pour down towards Maggots for the first time. And it's Alonso leading this race from Räikkönen in 2nd place. Michael Schumacher is 3rd. Massa, I think, is in 4th place with Fisichella up in 5th.
Spinner, we've got a spinner on the outside of Beckett's. And Coulthard picking his way through. It's a Toyota and a Williams. Ralph is out. Mark Webber has connected with Ralf Schumacher. We think Montoya also had contact in Copse. The first corner, there was certainly contact midway through the pack, and Coulthard making his way nicely through there by the looks of it. Alonso leads Raikkonen, Michael Schumacher, Massa, Fisichella, Heidfeld, Barrichello. Montoya is still showing 8th at the moment.
So it was Heidfeld who made up the ground. 9th on the grid for the BMW Sauber driver. Now up into 6th place. He's passed both Barrichello and Montoya. And, well, they look really potent this weekend, BMW Sauber. All through the weekend, they're very quick in the high-speed corners here at Silverstone. And let's see how they get on. Safety car standing by.
Yeah.
We've got 2 cars that are obviously badly damaged. Jarno Trulli and Mark Webber. There they are. So at the moment, the safety car has been deployed. So the safety car will come out on the track and control the pace of the field then, while the damage is cleared away from that incident involving Ralf Schumacher, I beg your pardon, not Jarno Trulli, it's Ralf Schumacher and Mark Webber.
Yes, we've seen a lot of safety cars this weekend, particularly in the GP2 race. We've seen some unusual incidents, and 2 cars off on the outside of what's a nothingy left-hander onto Hangar Straight is quite unusual. Only contact, really, will get you into those barriers. You can't really sort of go and have an accident over there. And there's debris on the track, obviously bits of that Toyota. That's bad news for them. Ralf qualified very well. Trulli was on the back of the grid with an engine problem. Toyota said before this weekend, judge us on Silverstone, and the Toro Rosso there of Scott Speed coming into the pits. So we're going to see a replay now of the start. Alonso away beautifully from pole, Raikkonen too, Michael Schumacher slightly under pressure, and we're cutting back to their different camera angle altogether. It was a BMW making its way down the inside, and this is Montoya struggling then. There goes the BMW, bit of contact. Oh, somebody came straight into the side. Villeneuve presumably thumped into the side of Montoya.
Back live, Jenson Button.
Great work, by the way, gentlemen. Just keep the pressure on at the restart. Just make sure the tyres are hot.
Great work means he's up to 14th place already. Obviously some accident places he's gained there, but obviously got a good run. Presumably he'll be very, very heavily fueled as well right back there. So this is playing quite nicely into his hands and keeping the pack tighter. Now we're going to see somebody spinning on the outside of, and there's the contact. It looked like, I suspect, Scott Speed got into the back of, oh, big accident there, big contact between Webber and Ralf Schumacher. Actually, the man in the foreground is the culprit for that incident. He got into the back of Ralf Schumacher there on the second part of Beckett. Schumacher collects it all up and then collects Webber at the same time. Mark really with nowhere to go.
Well, it's a strange one because Ralf Schumacher was 7th on the grid and Scott Speed was 15th. So Ralf had obviously had a poor start to be even consorting with Scott Speed in the midfield, and clearly that is the net result. There is the American driver then in the pit garage having at least a nose cone changed. And poor old Mark Webber, just a complete victim in that one. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, Mark was trying to make a bit of ground around the outside and obviously didn't really spot that Ralf was coming his way quite so dramatically. And Ted has news for us.
Yeah, well, I'm down at McLaren, and they were ready for Juan Pablo Montoya with fuel and tyres in case he wanted to come in. But as I speak, the McLaren boys are standing down. So obviously Montoya's radioed back says, despite that whack, the car actually feels okay, but it might be a different story when the car gets back up to full speed, Martin. But just to explain the Nick Heidfeld progress, he was on new tyres, both BMWs on new tyres at the beginning of that race.
Yes, I think many of them were. They can gain themselves probably 10 metres in the sprint down to the first corner with absolutely fresh tyres. So it did seem to work extremely well for the BMW drivers. The knock on the side of Montoya was fairly square on, wasn't it? The cars are quite strong in that respect. It's only when you get lateral movement. And this is Jenson then up behind the Red Bull of what would be clean. And Jenson got a very, very good view of that incident and managed to avoid it nicely.
Certainly did. There is the BMW of the fast-starting Nick Heidfeld. This is UK, the third biggest market for BMW, so I'm sure they'll have plenty of people here in hospitality, and they'll be enjoying this very much. Points in 5 of the last 7 races for them. The lights are off on the safety car, so we're going to have a restart any moment now. Alonso will drop back from a safety car. He will control the pace of the field, and then he will decide the exact moment at which he wants to drop the accelerator. And you're not allowed to overtake until you've crossed the start-finish line. That's the golden rule of restarts. As soon as you cross the line, you're able to go ahead.
Yeah, lying some rubber down onto the track was Alonso. He needs to remember to switch his traction control back on, which he certainly will do. But they'll spin like a top, these things, if you just switch that. And he's backing them up, and they're not going to be happy with that. That's too much. You're not really supposed to back the field up that much. You've got to, you take over, you become the safety car, the pace car, and the pace car.
He's playing concertina, Martin. Yeah. He's playing games with Kimi Raikkonen. He wants Raikkonen to just have to hit the brakes. Looks in his mirror. The moment Raikkonen hits the brake, he hits the throttle. He's done it before like that. It always works for him, Alonso. I imagine the other drivers have got something to say about it. But across the line they go. The British Grand Prix is restarted. Look at Montoya side by side down the pit straight with Rubens Barrichello, his South American friend. That's the battle for 7th place. Alonso leading Raikkonen. Michael Schumacher is 3rd. 4th is Massa. 5th is Fisichella. 6th is Heidfeld. 7th is Rubens Barrichello. 8th, Juan Montoya. As we go down the hangar straight with Montoya right in the slipstream of the Renault Fisichella.
Yeah. And that's...
Raikkonen in the slipstream of Alonso, I mean, for the lead. This is for the lead.
Absolutely. And Raikkonen appeared to have better straight line speed, and Michael Schumacher was driving into this massive void of air. A hole in the air made by 2 Formula 1 cars, and he got tremendous speed down there and thought about having a look. 2 completely different styles of coming out of club, but down into Abbey, Raikkonen is having to go defensive, and they're so close to touching. Good driving from Raikkonen. Now he's slightly wrong-footed on the exit, but Michael can't do anything about it. I think also the stewards will be talking to Alonso about that restart. Not smart from him. If Raikkonen had hit him in the rear wing and broken the wing post or the under tray, it would have compromised his own race. You become the pace car, and you then have to take the field in a sensible way back into racing conditions. But it's worked out okay this time for Fernando Alonso, and he's got a little bit of breathing space as he goes over the line. Half a second.
I think Michael Schumacher would have loved it if the 2 cars in front of him had taken each other out, but it was very, very close indeed before that restart. So Alonso still leading half a second from Raikkonen, but Michael Schumacher got really close to the McLaren, didn't he, in the second half of that lap. Possibly no more than 2 or 3 inches away, his front left wheel from the bodywork of the McLaren. Behind them, the rest of the field spreading out a little bit now. David Coulthard is in 11th place, where he started for Red Bull Racing. Jenson Button still in 14th place, and Jarno Trulli in the Toyota is the car in front of Jenson.
Oh, these are the 3 we've been talking about. And they're close enough, aren't they? Michael Schumacher's got quite a lot of understeer in that Ferrari. I think that's why he's taking the tighter line early on the exit of club. There are very much 2 ways of doing that. You can compromise your speed, but it's much shorter around the inside, of course, or let the car move to the outside, take the longer journey around the outside of club, but give yourself better traction. And, well, what a handful that looks underneath Montoya at the moment as he chases Nick Heidfeld in the BMW.
Under pressure for his drive, Juan Pablo Montoya. His manager, Julian Jacobi, is going around the paddock, knocking on a lot of doors of motorhomes, trying to find someone who might be prepared to take his driver. He's certainly used to being paid quite a lot of money, Montoya. And the success he enjoyed with Williams hasn't really followed him this year in McLaren. 3 wins with the team last year, but yet to get off the mark in victories this time round. Here he's chasing down Nick Heidfeld in the BMW Sauber for 6th place.
Yeah, Montoya will be watching closely young Lewis Hamilton's progress, won't he? Because Lewis might just be a shoo-in for that drive. So Montoya with a lot of work to do. He's falling quite a long way back. He really, I think, has a faster car than Heidfeld. Louise has found Ralf Schumacher.
Ralph, you and Mark both look to be innocent parties in that.
Yeah, we were. I mean, basically it all started with my very bad start. Blue start, I lost too many positions, got into a mess, into the traffic, and couldn't do anything about it. That's basically how things can happen. I mean, it's a big mess. Nobody, has the real space, and nobody does it on purpose, obviously.
Did you see Scott coming, or was it all a bit of a surprise?
I didn't see anything. I mean, they had cars all over me, so it's really difficult to see.
Thanks, Ralph.
Louise does so well finding those drivers amazingly quickly. They had quite a travel back to the pits. We just saw Button overtaking Liuzzi, it was, for P12. He's now up behind David Coulthard. They're 11th and 12th. So the race pace for Button looks pretty strong.
He's certainly charging, isn't he? He's also passed Jarno Trulli up into 12th place. This is how he got past Liuzzi.
Down the classic move down the inside of Stowe, and well, we were concerned that V10 would be very fast in a straight line, but it's certainly not around here. And Button then making his way forward. He'll be very satisfied with the early stage. We're only on lap 7, but with the early stages of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, he's in 12th place at the moment. That is the Honda garage. Nick Fry, the team principal, on the left of the screens, just watching Jensen's progress. His teammate Rubens Barrichello is in 8th place at the moment, 11 seconds behind. We're only on lap 7, and already the top 10 is really stringing out quite a lot. It's one of the phenomenon you get here at Silverstone. It's called field spread, and simply means that the cars just spread out quite a lot in the opening stages, and that has a big impact on race strategy, as we will find later on. On board then with Jensen Button, the two British drivers together on the racetrack, battling for 11th place.
Coulthard went in very early. He's locked the front brake. He'll get away with that, but Button will be in a great place to get the slipstream up to Abbey. But Coulthard feeling the need already to defend his position down on the way into Stowe and compromise his line. Jensen is on fire coming through the field. This is nice to see, isn't it? But this pair then are two Brits. The only two Brits in the race have got a chance of scoring some points. Alonso leads by just 0.7 of a second though. The top 5 are actually only 3.6 seconds apart. It's all going on up there, and it's certainly all going on between Coulthard and Button.
It certainly is. Felipe Massa in the Ferrari in 4th place. It's just dropping away from the big 3 names in front of him, Alonso, Raikkonen and Michael Schumacher. Alonso sets the fastest lap of the race so far at 1:23, but we will see considerably quicker than that as the fuel burns off from these cars over the course of this stint. Massa then dropping back a little bit in 4th, and he's going to start coming under some pressure from Giancarlo Fisichella in the 2nd Renault, currently running in 5th place. There they are. And looking back to Heidfeld and Montoya.
Top 5 in the first sector, which is nearly half a minute long, are less than a 10th apart. They're so even on pace through Cops Beckett's down towards Stowe, and still then the gap is only 4 seconds between the top 5. We've got a great race on our hands here. It's difficult at the moment to really pick somebody who's got an advantage anywhere in particular. They're lapping so closely.
Well, we're riding on board with Jensen Button, 53 laps still to go.
Тут активно прорывается. Естественно, что сход спида ему помог, так же, как и вот это столкновение Ральфа Шумахера и Марка Вебера, но очень многих Дженсен уже опередил, скажем так, своими силами. Несмотря на то, что гонщики из-за вот этих возросших скоростей жаловались, что обгонять здесь совсем неудобно, тормозить практически не приходится. И мы говорили как раз, что тормоза очень сильно остывают, они должны постоянно быть в температуре, эти карбоновые диски. Здесь же очень длинные периоды газ в пол, соответственно, тормоза остывают. И когда пилоты подлетают на огромной скорости за 300 км в час к повороту Стоу, где надо тормозить очень серьезно, до 110 где-то с небольшим, то у некоторых возникают проблемы на торможении. Из-за этого команды пошли даже на уменьшение. Обычно увеличивают, как через 2 недели мы в Монреале увидим, воздухозаборники тормозов, чтобы те как можно эффективнее остывали после жестких торможений. Здесь, наоборот, недостаток жестких торможений, и поэтому, чтобы слишком сильно не остывали тормоза, команды уменьшили размер воздухозаборников, чтобы хоть как-то поддерживать тормоза в температуре. Это, кстати, тоже может стать одним из факторов этой гонки наряду с расходом резины. Да, естественно, пит-стопы разрешены, и во многом благодаря этому гораздо более мягкие смеси, чем в прошлом году, привез сюда и Мишлен, и Бриджстоун. Хотя, в принципе, если сравнивать, например, с Монако, где самая мягкая резина в году, здесь она одна из самых жестких. Но вот эта температура повышенная, плюс к этому трасса неожиданно, несмотря на больший прогрев и воздуха, и асфальта, оказалась гораздо более скользкой, чем во время всех последних тестов здесь. И в меньшей степени, как ни странно, это повлияло на Феррари и на Тойоту, которые вообще ни разу в этом сезоне здесь не тестировались, поскольку они уже конкретно привыкали вчера к тем условиям, которые были по ходу этого гоночного уикенда. Все остальные команды, которые достаточно активно тестировали и разворот Дженсена Баттона. Вот, пожалуйста, увы, но этот активный прорыв может быть в борьбе с Дэвидом Кулхардом, если еще и выяснится, что был контакт между двумя британцами. И возгорание мотора Honda, скорее всего, не связано, значит, просто заблокировало трансмиссию. И вот этот сход, конечно, для Дженсена, увы, но продолжение всех тех неприятностей, что продолжаются для него здесь на его домашнем гран-при в Сильверстоуне. Вчерашняя квалификация была просто провалена, не попадание. Во многом по вине вот компьютера, который выбрал именно его для контрольного взвешивания на квалификации, не успел проехать второй раз Дженсен Баттон. И, увы, гонка вроде бы складывалась для него блестяще. Он обгонял одного за одним соперников, прорывался наверх, но вот здесь взрыв мотора. Непосредственно перед этим первым из 1.23 вышел Фернандо Алонсо на 9-м круге. 1.22, 997 тысячных секунды. У него и уже на секунду и 0,4. Вот подтверждение как раз этого круга на ваших экранах. Он успел оторваться.
Lap 10 of the British Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso leading Kimi Raikkonen, Michael Schumacher third, Felipe Massa is fourth, Giancarlo Fisichella is in fifth place. And well, you see the smoking car down there. It's Jenson Button, I'm afraid. And this is what happened. Looks like, yep, the engine's let go, Martin, and he's gone round on the oil.
Yeah, he managed to keep the engine going. He tries to drive it out of the gravel trap. And in fact, he ends up further into it as you've only got a limited steering lock on these things. But the reason he span is for sure it was leaking oil already. And the other drivers going to have to be a little bit wary into the complex there. But it looks, well, sometimes you lose an oil line. Hydraulics, the hydraulic fluid can burn like that as well and is equally slippery and will soon spit you off the racetrack, unfortunately. So, Button then, not his error.
The right-hand bank of cylinders letting go on that Honda engine. He walks back, he manages a smile. It's really all he can offer his many fans around this racetrack. It's been an utterly miserable weekend for Jenson Button. Very little of it is of his own making. Not quite quick enough in the qualifying session, but really should have had a chance.
Do you want me to speak?
Great to see him shaking hands with the fans there. They really appreciate his efforts. And let's hope next year's British Grand Prix we'll see Jenson Button towards the front of the grid. The crowd below us in the grandstand all applauding him as he walks back. Well, I'm delighted to say that Ron Dennis is joining us from the McLaren pit wall, the boss of the McLaren team. Ron, you must be delighted with the performance so far of your driver Kimi Raikkonen. He's right in the hunt there with Alonso and Michael Schumacher.
Things are going quite well. I think we have a more durable tyre than some of the other Michelin runners, so waiting for things to settle down. Of course, the biggest challenges to us is obviously going to be the Ferraris, but so far so good. We're in now fuel conservation mode.
Is that why Alonso's beginning to just move away at the front, Ron?
Just stand by.
Can you hear us down there, Ron? Yeah, the whole field just pouring past Ron on the pit lane.
It's a little quieter now. Yeah.
Okay, is that why Alonso's just moving away at the front now? You're intentionally just conserving fuel? Why is that?
Well, obviously the first round of pit stops are going to be quite important, and it's not just covering Fernando, it's also making sure that we stay ahead of Michael. So the real race will, I think, sort of unfold towards the latter part of the Grand Prix.
Did Kimi say anything about that restart procedure of Alonso's? That looked a bit cheeky from where we were standing.
Well, I don't think it particularly hurt us, so I mean, that's just motor racing.
Ron, in Monaco, you were carrying a bit more fuel than Alonso, and it looked like it was going to give you a good result. I mean, do you feel that the strategy in this early part of the race is going to be decisive this afternoon?
It's always interesting how good your intelligence is. I think probably Alonso might even be a bit longer than us, but not much, and Michael a bit shorter. But we'll see how that the quality of that information pans out.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you from the pit wall. We hope to hear from you a bit later on, Ron. Thank you very much indeed.
No problem. Speak to you later in the race.
Always wonderful to talk to a guy right at the coalface, making decisions about race strategy, and to get that kind of insight. Really only in Formula One can you do that kind of thing. Alonso leading then, 2.1 seconds the margin from Kimi Raikkonen. Michael Schumacher is third now, just a second behind Raikkonen. Massa still fourth, but still falling away a little bit from the front three. And then Fisichella fifth. Heidfeld is now almost 10 seconds behind the Renault, with Montoya still breathing down his neck in that battle for sixth place, and Rubens Barrichello still eighth. And a quick David Coulthard check. He is still, as we are 13 laps into the race, in the same place he started on the grid, 11th.
Yeah, and he's got close company with Jarno Trulli, who started at the back of the field and is moving through quite quickly. Fresh engine in that Toyota of Trulli's, and he is going nicely. But Alonso has put the pedal down. He's definitely, whether he's plugged in and listening to radio conversations, I don't know, but he's absolutely flying out there now, trying to build himself a cushion.
Well, it's rather strange, but where Jenson Button's engine let go is at Brooklands, just the other side of the BRDC from where we are. And I can smell the engine, Louise Goodman. He's with you, I know. We can smell it in the commentary box. It was a massive blow-up.
Jenson, they're just telling me they can smell your engine in the commentary box, a massive blow-up.
Yeah, it was, and a massive blow as well in terms of the race, because, you know, I started 19th, I was up to 11th, I think, or 12th. Things are looking pretty sweet. I think I could have got past DC in the next couple of laps. The car was working very well. It's just a pity, really. You know, yesterday was tough for us, and getting put on the weighbridge, and today's even tougher because I think we could have had a good comeback drive, and it was going very well. So
just hasn't gone your way this weekend, has it?
Not really. You could say that, but you could say that for the last race as well. But it's not all bad luck. You know, we need to improve in certain areas, and we will. You know, Monday I'm sure we'll have a big meeting just as normal, just to see where we're going from here and sort out our little issues, because, you know, qualifying was very disappointing, but today was good. The car felt great in the race, and I was a little bit surprised at how good it felt, so that's positive.
How quickly do you think you can turn things around and get back to winning ways for the British fans?
Winning ways is going to be difficult in the next few races, but Canada's a good circuit. I like Canada. We've always gone pretty well there, apart from put it in the wall last year. Apart from that, the car works well there. I love the circuit, and we just got to hope that's enough, because we're not as quick as the first few teams, as we can see out there now with Rubens, you know. But it's a shame for the British fans and for the team and for myself, because that was a good race. Personally, I felt like I was very quick, and it's just so much fun here, especially overtaking and in front of the fans. You can see them all waving their flags and stuff. It's a good atmosphere, and you know, it's a pity we couldn't get a better result.
Bad luck, mate.
Well, if your football match went to penalties at the moment, you wouldn't choose Jenson to take one, would you? He's being so unlucky, but chin up chap, we're all right behind you, and for sure he can turn it around, as Alonso is turning it around at the front of the field. 2.9 seconds clear now. Does Raikkonen or Michael Schumacher have an answer to the young Spaniard? If they have, they need to deliver it anytime soon.
Well, up here in the commentary box, we have a computer that shows us the sector times. There's 3 sectors on every Grand Prix lap, and Alonso has done 4 consecutive purple sectors. So not only did he have the fastest lap, but he's carried it over into this lap as well. He's absolutely putting the hammer down now to try and shake off the challenge of Raikkonen and Michael Schumacher. I have to say, Jenson Button was doing a great job, though, cutting through the field, wasn't he? Up to 12th place, chasing down David Coulthard just before that engine let go. And you consider he started 19th, he was doing really well. So 46 laps to go here at Silverstone, an awful lot still to unfold.
На 3 секунды опережает Кими Рэйкконена. Шумахер еще держится менее чем в 1,5 секундах позади Кими. В 2 секундах позади Микаэля его партнер по Феррари Филиппе Масса. Секунды и 0,2 начал сокращать свое отставание от Филиппе Джанкарло Физикелло. Что же касается связки Хайтфельд-Монтоя, то они уже в 11,5 секундах позади Джанкарло Физикеллы. Но на 4 секунды опережают Баррикелло. У того до Росберга также 3,5-3,6 сейчас. Вильнёв 2,7 до Ника Росберга. Култхарт 4,7 до Жака Вильнёва. Так что вот сражение скорее между Култхартом и Трулли здесь. Одно из редких реальных в настоящий момент сражений, наряду, естественно, с Хайтфельдом и Монтойей на трассе. Следом за Ярно Трулли Витантонио Люци отстал уже на 4 секунды и на 1,5 опережает Кристиана Клейна. Монтейро держится более-менее в ритме. Менее 3 секунд его отставания от Редбула австрийца. И в свою очередь всего на секунду и 0,2 он опережает собственного партнера Кристиана Альберса, с которым вот 2 недели назад столь неудачно они контактировали в момент старта, соответственно, Гран-при Монако. Следом за ними Сато в 17 секундах. Уже все-таки темп Суперагури ниже, и Монтани отстал на 7 секунд от Такумы. Что касается Дженсона Баттона, Ральфа Шумахера и Марка Вебера, они сошли с дистанции. И Скотт Спид теперь уже с отставанием в 14 кругов от Алонсо, скорее всего, на трассу. Если и вернется, то в тестовом режиме. Так что реально борьбу после первых 15 кругов, после первой четверти дистанции продолжают сейчас 18 машин за Гран-при Великобритании. Разница между Фернандо Алонсо и Франко Монтани минута и 10 секунд. Соответственно, пока в ближайшие пару кругов обгонов на круг не намечается, скорее всего, не намечается и первых пит-стопов. Поэтому мы как раз используем эту паузу, чтобы где-то прерваться минуты на 2, друзья.
Welcome back to the carnival atmosphere of Silverstone. This is lap 18 of the British Grand Prix. That's the fastest speeds going through turn 5, which is Beckett's. Fisichella the fastest, Barrichello you can see as well. The race leader Alonso down in 5th place only. Michael Schumacher not appearing even amongst the top 8 in terms of the speed they carry through there. Quite an interesting graphic that. And look at Montero in the Midlands, the 6th fastest through Beckett's. That's about a lot of commitment from him. A lot of rumours that the Midland team are looking around for a new buyer. Those rumours are not new, and Alex Schneider keeps denying them, but a Dutch internet company apparently very seriously interested in taking over that team. So watch this space in terms of one of the Formula 1 teams changing hands. Jarno Trulli in the Toyota pits from 12th.
Well, that's a surprise, and he started right on the back row of the grid. Normally you feel long back there. I think the optimum strategy is to pit on lap 22. So any variance on that, you can see sort of different concepts, different ideas, and Ferrari are getting ready already, and we are told it's for Michael Schumacher. So that's bad news for Ferrari if they're the first ones in. We thought they had more fuel on board than the McLarens, didn't we? Well, that was wrong. So Alonso still steaming away, and indeed Michael Schumacher pits.
He does indeed. Well, Ron Dennis's information was right then. He said he believed that Michael had less fuel than Raikkonen, and in turn he believed that Alonso had a little bit more. So let's see how this all plays out. Ross Brawn, the chief strategist of Ferrari, has made a choice. He's put 8.5 seconds the stationary time, so he's put around about 60 kilos of fuel in Michael Schumacher's car, and that will take him about 23 laps in my calculation into the race. We will see whether that's enough, and he's fed back out in front of Rubens Barrichello, who was in 8th place. So Michael down to 7th now.
Yeah, his old teammate Rubens Barrichello having a solid weekend again. The man who won the 2003 British Grand Prix on that extraordinary day when the weather kept changing, people running on the circuit, all sorts of things. One of the finest Grand Prix drives I remember commentating on. A superb drive that day, but Rubens kind of solid today, lapping in the 23s. The leaders are in the 122s, but he's hanging on to 8th place and 1 World Championship point at the moment. Long way to go though.
Well, he's got 2 Renaults, 2 McLarens and 2 Ferraris in front of him, so at the moment they're hogging all the points in this year's World Championship. It's very difficult for Honda, for Toyota, for Red Bull Racing and those sort of teams to get any points this season. Very different picture from last year. And into pits comes Massa and Raikkonen.
Yeah, Alonso responded with a smile on his face, no doubt, to Schumacher's early pit stop with a new fastest lap of the race on a 1:21.8. Ted's down there.
Yeah, that's a lot of fuel for Kimi Raikkonen in there. Felipe Massa, the stop's going okay. That's not so bad either, 8.7, but it's going to be very tight, Martin, between Massa and Giancarlo Fisichella. Renault need Fisichella to get involved in the race at the front and get past Massa here. So let's see how long Fisi can go now.
Yes, Raikkonen feeds back in front of Michael Schumacher, so that worked okay for McLaren. They got quite a lot of fuel in that car. Fisichella needs to bring himself into play right now. You're absolutely correct. And Barrichello pitted from what was 8th, as we know.
Yep, so Rubens Barrichello has made his stop. That moves Jacques Villeneuve up into 9th place. Also going well, Nico Rosberg. Williams have had a tough time this weekend so far, but Rosberg had a good start from 12th on the grid, and he's now worked his way up into 8th. Yet to make his first stop, of course, but it's one of those, it looks like possibly one of those trademark Rosberg charges here this afternoon that we've seen a couple of times in this, his rookie season. We're at 1/3 race distance, the 60-lap British Grand Prix. McLaren getting ready for their other driver, Juan Pablo Montoya. At the front, Alonso, fastest man on the racetrack at the moment, 10.5 seconds ahead of his teammate Fisichella. Neither of the Renaults having pitted.
Still Alonso then the only man in the 1:28, and Fisichella, presumably with traffic, a 1:22.9. He needed a better lap than that. Heidfeld up to 3rd at the moment for BMW because he hasn't stopped. And there is Montoya. He'll be so pleased to get in, get a fresh set of tyres and not have the BMW of Heidfeld right on the end of his front wing. And now he's got a chance. If he can clear Heidfeld, he was a dozen seconds behind the leading pack. Montoya he's got enough time left to haul himself back up to the leaders.
Intriguing stuff here at Silverstone. Fisichella setting purple sector times now, putting the hammer down. He's had a talking to from Flavio Briatore. Sometimes he's right up the front, sometimes he's not. And Flavio said you need to turn it on every fortnight, Fisichella. That's the job you've got to do. if you want to hold on to this drive. Renault in the hunt for a replacement for Fernando Alonso. Heikki Kovalainen, the team test driver, likely to be promoted. All of the engineers absolutely raving about him. But can Fisichella hold on to his seat, or are they going to try and get somebody else in there? The time will tell. We're riding on board with Michael Schumacher.
Alonso, another new fastest lap, a 1:21.6 as Fisichella pits. And he had a couple of scruffy laps in there, presumably, as I said, with traffic that may just compromise his entire afternoon. He didn't do enough in the critical phase. Alonso was 14 seconds clear of him, although an element of that was Fizzy having to negotiate the pit lane. No, it's not going to work at all. So he's just coming out just behind Michael Schumacher. So actually, that's not too bad. It's got him ahead of Massa. That's important.
Job done. Job done as far as Renault are concerned. That's absolutely what Ted Kravitz was talking about, and they've done it. So that's great news for Fisichella. He's now free. Massa fell off the back of the leaders, and that's the price he's paid. Renault getting ready then for race leader Fernando Alonso, and well, quite a few hearts will be beating around this racetrack. As always, it's a passionate business, Formula One racing, but one heart that's going to be beating particularly hard is our own Louise Goodman. She's about to take part in a pit stop down at Midland, and we'll hopefully see that shortly. But into the pits comes your race leader, Fernando Alonso.
Pretty cautious against the white line. He's not up against it in terms of he had a decent lead. No point in risking a pit lane speed infringement. And the Renault boys, 22 people, calmly go about their work. They will have timed the fuel that went into his main rivals this afternoon and responded and fueled accordingly. I kind of thought he might be stationary a little bit longer than that. He's going to come out easily in the lead. I'm just surprised they didn't put a touch more fuel in than that. Look how far he is ahead. He's out of Copse, and Michael Schumacher's just coming onto the pit straight.
Yeah, it's one of the Super Aguris, Takuma Sato, making a stop from 17th place, the Honda B team, effectively, although this weekend they started alongside Jenson Button at the back of the grid. There's Michael Schumacher pushing on hard through Beckett's.
Trap.
Right, here's Louise Goodman, our own Louise Goodman, pit lane reporter, about to become the first woman ever to take part in a Formula One pit stop. She's going to take the left rear wheel off, and that might sound simple to you back sitting at home. Any old person can take a wheel off a car, but bear in mind, this wheel has done 23 laps at huge temperatures going around the place. They stick, they easily get stuck. It's very, very hard. The wheels are very heavy, much heavier than you expect them to be. And there she goes. Wheel comes off. Well done, Louise.
They stuck her on the outside as well. They didn't give her the easy touch on the inside, away from the main traffic going through. So she's happy enough with that. And I tell you, when those cars come down there at 60-odd miles an hour into the garage of what I would normally say men, one of them, of course, wasn't this weekend. It's a nice change, isn't it? Is that the first lady ever, I think, to be involved in a Formula One pit stop, we're told. So good stuff there from Louise. Alonso, though, has a 5.5-second lead over Heidfeld, because Heidfeld has yet to stop. Good pace from him, though. He's gone a long way into the Grand Prix. So the real lead of Alonso's is 10 seconds over current third-place man Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah, he extended that lead when Räikkönen made his stop. That was the moment when Alonso really put the hammer down. And I noticed that when Alonso came in, he had a good, healthy margin over Räikkönen. So that's worked out extremely well for the Renault team as Louise gets prepared to go back to the day job. Hopefully we'll be hearing from her again soon. Also down in the pit lane for us, Ted Kravitz, and he can tell us some news about Juan Pablo Montoya.
Yeah, his car, James, is much more badly damaged than we realised. Have a look on the pictures, see if you can get a close-up of the right-hand side pod. There's a massive hole in the leading edge of the side pod, which A, must be completely ruining the aerodynamics, but B, I mean, it's carbon fibre everywhere. I had a good look at it when he came in for the pit stop, and, I mean, it was the right state, but what can they do? They can only put gaffer tape on it. It's going to hurt Montoya badly.
That could be damaging the cooling as well. The airflow through there is critical. Particularly, there's a lot of electronic control units in there. We're just reading on the computer there'll be an investigation between 7, 9 and 21, which is Speed, Ralf Schumacher and Webber on the first lap. That won't take long. It was all Scott Speed's fault.
There's the damage Ted's talking about on the side pod of the McLaren. That certainly does look a bit tasty. Well, Scott Speed's been in the steward's room before, of course, hasn't he, with David Coulthard, and the stewards threw the book at him. Tony Scott Andrews, the chief race steward, who really showed his teeth in Monte Carlo a couple of weeks ago throwing the book at Michael Schumacher for his qualifying infringement, and I imagine that Scott Speed will have that book down the back of his trousers when he goes in to see Tony Scott Andrews. Well, we just saw Louise taking the wheel off. How hard was it, Louise?
It was all right, actually. My heart's still going 90 to the dozen. I'm not sure whether it's still excitement or just relief. It actually happened. It felt a lot slower than I was expecting it to be. I felt quite calm. I could see Thiago coming down the pit lane. And really, it's just a matter of doing what you've been rehearsing time and time over. Felt a wee bit different. The tyres were incredibly sticky. And obviously, the wheel rim was hot as well. But it was good. I'm really, really pleased I did it. And a great response from all the guys as well.
Well done, girl. Louise Goodman, and the first to do a number of things in Formula One. But she's now the first woman to take part in a Formula One pit stop. At the front then, Alonso leading Heidfeld by 5.9 seconds. Raikkonen's third. He is now 5 seconds behind Heidfeld. And Michael Schumacher, we're riding on board with him into the complex as he comes through to complete lap 25. Has just over a second and a half margin over Fisichella, albeit that he is a little bit faster at the moment. So Fisichella is not catching Michael Schumacher, as Heidfeld, who got a wonderful start from 9th place on the grid. He was 6th into the first corner, and now, having got as high as 2nd place in this race, he makes his pit stop. Where will he feed back?
His pace was very strong, you know, so it's not going to work out for Montoya or anything, although some problem. Can't find a gear, can he? I think it sounds like it's stuck in neutral. Oh, that's ruined it. He was actually on a very, very good pace at that point. Rosberg pits for Williams. He's been going well too, and was 8th when he came into the pits.
That cost Heidfeld at least 7 seconds. Whatever it was, just as you say, it seemed like he couldn't get a gear. Coulthard into the pits then from 10th place in the Red Bull Racing. Podium finisher in Monaco 2 weeks ago. Donned the Superman red cape when he went up to collect his trophy in the Royal Box. And, well, I think he's back down to earth a little bit this weekend at Silverstone, as the other Midland driver, Christian Albers, makes his pit stop. Very jumpy on the throttle.
Just about leapt out of the box, didn't it? Schumacher must have his mirrors pretty full of Fisichella, though Fizzy's dropped back with a 1:24.4, so he's not got much pace either. And the only man who's gone out and immediately had the pace again is Alonso. How does he do that? He just seems to have the confidence and the balance. He must be working so well with the team, the engineer, and he's got it covered, hasn't he, in all conditions and all phases of the race.
Well, they do say that when it's all working for you and you're winning races and getting pole positions, it's actually very easy. Everything just feels easy. Tremendous amount of effort, of course, going on in the cockpit of Alonso. A lot of hard work behind the scenes at Renault as well, with all the engineers and technicians, but they do seem to have that control of Formula One at the moment. Now, Scott Speed was involved in the incident at the start with Ralf Schumacher and Mark Webber. He's already fallen foul of the stewards once before this season. Louise, how's he feeling at the moment?
Well, let's ask him. Scott, 3 of you tangling on that opening lap. Just talk us through it from your perspective.
Yeah, well, I had an awesome start off the line. I had a great launch, and I got by Christian Antonio. And I was trying to go around the outside of Ralph in one of the Maggots and Beckett's corners, and it was actually working. I actually got alongside him a bit. But when we went into the right, I think it was such kind of an unexpected place to pass. He didn't quite see me, and we tangled. But in any case, it was a racing incident. I don't think it was really anyone's fault. It's just unfortunate for both of us.
Did you speak to him about it afterwards?
No, I haven't got a chance to speak to him, but I don't imagine there'd be any issues.
All right, thanks, Scott.
Thanks.
He's going to be an MTV presenter, isn't he, when he finishes being a driver, for sure. But I'm not sure the others will see it quite like that, but they'll get the videos out and study it closely. But Scott then trying to make the best of a good start by the sounds of it, and ended up tangling with Ralph, who we know from earlier on had a bad start that he met in the middle.
Yeah, Ralf Schumacher has started 7th on the grid. Scott Speed starting from 15th. So as you say, they met in the middle. It was in the right-hander in the middle of Beckett's that the problem occurred. And basically, he spun Ralf Schumacher around into the path of Mark Webber. So those 2 cars were eliminated on the spot, and Speed carried on for a little while, but has since retired. 4 retirements from the Grand Prix then, as Villeneuve pits from 6th place.
Villeneuve's demonstrating that car on Tuesday in Kensington Gardens, a freak run up and down with it. But today, he's got some work to do if he wants to get a decent haul of points. Lots of pit stops going on then, Liuzzi and Klein, Toro Rosso and Red Bull.
Yes, if you want to get close to a Formula One car, then Kensington Gardens is definitely the place to be on Tuesday afternoon. A major event involving Jacques Villeneuve. You'll be able to hear the engine, the volume, see the speed, and get a feel for what a Formula One car looks like. Kensington Gardens in London on Tuesday. 33 laps to go then. We're approaching half distance in the British Grand Prix. Alonso leads from Raikkonen. Michael Schumacher's third. Fisichella fourth. Massa fifth. Villeneuve has just made his pit stop. Montoya and Heidfeld rounding out the top 7.
И клины льются, хотя и заезжали-то они вроде бы сейчас очень поздно. Они не намного позже всех остальных поедут на вторую дозаправку, потому что очень мало топлива было заправлено, и смысл там был не досидеть до последних кругов, а просто сделать второй и третий отрезки гонки на максимально легкой машине, соответственно, с минимальным износом резины и, в общем, с максимальной скоростью, чтобы как-то сейчас повысить свой темп. Лидеры, они выбрали более традиционную тактику. Еще раз повторюсь, Шумахер 18-й круг, Райконен и Масса вместе с Рубенсом Баррикелло на Хонде. Единственный оставшийся теперь в гонке 19-й. Монтоя на втором Макларене 20-й. 21-й у Физикелло и 22-й у Фернандо Алонсо. Но если верен тот расчет, что нам показывал режиссер трансляции каждый раз, то на второй пит-стоп должны начать заезжать также с Михаэля на 38-м круге, Кими 39-й, а вот на 40-м Масса и Алонсо, заметьте, и лишь следом за Алонсо на 42-м Джанкарло Физикелло. Может быть, конечно, у Физикелло, имея дополнительное количество топлива, он, исходя из дорожной ситуации в настоящий момент на трассе, его инженеры могут принять решение и чуть раньше, например, заехать в боксы. Но в любом случае, если понадобится пересидеть кого-то, того же Михаэля Шумахера, если его сможет догнать Джанкарло Физикелло, то, может быть, как раз используют вот это преимущество лишних кругов. Лишних кругов, опять же, если верить расчетам, 38-й у Михаэля, 42-й у Физикелло, так что у него будет 4 круга. Вся задача сейчас у Физика тогда догнать Михаэля, пока остается 3 секунды и 7 десятых. По крайней мере, Филиппе Массу он уже смог опередить за счет первого пит-стопа. Это достаточно серьезный прогресс для команды Рено. На 2 круга позже останавливался Джанкарло Физикелло. Они были почти с пустыми баками, так что вот ему удалось компенсировать этот небольшой гандикап, который на первой части дистанции создал относительно него Филиппе Масса. Если сравнивать Райконена и Шумахера, вот, пожалуйста, скорость примерно была одинаковой, затем даже разрыв чуть-чуть упал, и затем Михаэль Шумахер резко отыграл треть секунды на вот этом 29-м круге. Таким образом, всего секунды и 2 десятых осталось вот в этой борьбе за второе место.
Come on, Rubens, your race is with Villeneuve ahead. Now just get into him.
Значит, Рубенса Баррикелло, если я правильно понял, друзья мои, призывали чуть-чуть взвинтить темп и уверяли, что Жак Вильнёв, который перед ним идет сейчас на 9-м месте, это не такая сложная добыча, ты сможешь его догнать, ты сможешь с ним побороться. Вот примерно так я истолковал это сообщение. Еще раз прошу простить, если, как говорится, что-то неправильно понял. Что касается позиции Рубенса, да, действительно, менее 2 секунд его сейчас отделяют от 9-го места Жака Вильнёва, тот в 3 секундах позади Ника Росберга, который замыкает пока очковую зону.
Beautiful sunny day here at Silverstone. We're halfway through the British Grand Prix. Sadly, we've lost Jenson Button, who qualified badly down in 19th place and was fighting his way through the field absolutely brilliantly, but sadly his engine failed. And he is one of 4 retirements from this Grand Prix. Alonso leading Raikkonen, Michael Schumacher third, Fisichella fourth, and all of the leaders lapping within a 10th or 2 of each other at the moment. But critically for Alonso, around the time of the first pit stops, by running a little bit longer on the fuel than his 2 rivals, he was 3 laps longer than Raikkonen and 4 laps longer than Michael Schumacher. He was able to open out a margin at that point that Raikkonen is now struggling to close down again. He's 12 seconds behind Alonso. Michael Schumacher, though, is only just a second behind the McLaren, and clearly there's a big battle to go on there for who's going to finish second here this afternoon, maybe even for the win if anything happens to Alonso. Fisichella just being dropped a little bit by the others in 4th place. Massa 5th and Montoya in 6th place, but amazing consistency, Martin, from Alonso. His last 5 laps, all within a couple of tenths of each other. It's like a target shooter who always puts the bullet in the bullseye.
I reckon he's out front listening to the Kaiser Chiefs now. I'm looking forward to my CD collection.
Have you ever heard of them? Because he caught you out, didn't he, that guy?
I'm more into the Arctic Monkeys, to be honest. Alonso then 12.6 seconds clear. Raikkonen just beginning to edge back at him. He'll have to keep an eye on that. Schumacher keeping Raikkonen very honest too. And Fisichella just about hanging on. So still a four-way scrap rather. It's now 18 seconds between them. It's and we've got Ron back on the pit wall.
Yeah, Ron Dennis, the boss of the McLaren team, I'm delighted to say, joining us once again from the pit wall. Thank you very much, Ron. Now, as you were absolutely right about the fuel stops on the first time around in terms of Renault going a bit longer. What have you done here to try and keep yourself in front of Ferrari and deal with Renault here this afternoon?
Let's probably realise we fueled a bit longer with Kimi than Michael, so unless something untoward happens, and as long as we keep the pace up, we should be able to stay ahead of him and Fisichella. So, of course, we're quite a bit behind Alonso now. At least he's driving for us next year, which puts a smile on our faces, I suppose. But other than that, it's going to be an interesting race as the final strategies unfold.
Ron, how accurately do you time the fueling of your competitors? Have you got people down there really understanding exactly when the nozzle went on and came off?
Yeah, we measure those actions 3 or 4 times. 3 people, guys back at Woking, monitoring things carefully. And normally after everything's sort of quietened down, we get within a few tenths of a second of accuracy. And of course that allows us with fuel flow to determine fuel load.
Sounds very quiet where you are all of a sudden, but the race is still very much on. So Kimi now just 11.7 seconds behind. Alonso had a scruffy lap behind some traffic, but do you think you can come back at him? Do you think you've got a chance to win this race still?
Obviously the gap's pretty big now. Hauling him in is unlikely unless he has a problem. Target now is to stay ahead of Michael. Obviously quicker through Sector 2 and Sector 3 most of the time than Michael. He picks up a bit of time in the first sector, but I think we have enough pace to beat him.
Ron, finally, obviously the British fans here today aren't going to see a British victory in Formula 1, but we saw a magic victory for Lewis Hamilton in GP2. He's your protege. What can you tell us about his future?
Well, I'm in the middle of a Grand Prix now, but he's obviously a great talent, and our strategy for the next few weeks is to keep everything calm. It's highly likely he'll be in Formula 1 with which next year, with which seems a bit premature to say, but at the moment he's doing everything right. The most important thing is not to read his own press, keep off the podium, which everybody wants to put him on, and just concentrate on the job.
And the damage to Montoya obviously not sending the temperatures through the roof at the moment.
No, it's a little bit of an unfortunate. Had a pretty bad knock at the beginning of the race, but we were able to establish through the data that the car was safe. Nothing had been too badly damaged. Temperatures are in control. It's a little bit out of balance now, which is making it a little more difficult for him to drive, but I'm sure he's going to soldier on, and who knows what's going to happen in front of us.
Ron, we know you're incredibly busy on that pit wall. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and all the fans around the world. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ron Dennis there, the boss of McLaren, giving us the inside scoop on the way their race is unfolding. Not too optimistic about beating Alonso from the sounds of things, but a great scrap between Raikkonen and Michael Schumacher for second place here.
Yeah, just a second, 0.2 between them. They are still coming back at Alonso, though. Alonso is going to have to just pick it up a little bit. We saw Michael run a bit wide through Copse a couple of corners ago while we were listening, a couple of laps ago while we were listening to Ron Dennis. So he's on the ragged edge, pushing as hard as he can, but at the moment Raikkonen has still got the measure of him. Second and third they are running. Fisichella is still falling back.
Well, Fisichella has got 3 laps more fuel than Michael Schumacher, and he's only 4 seconds behind him. That last lap was a good one for Fisichella. He took 9/10 out of Michael Schumacher. So yes, Schumacher's looking forward and thinking about how he can deal with Raikkonen, but he has to, Martin, have one eye, I think, on Fisichella, who, let's face it, is driving the same Renault chassis around this racetrack as Fernando Alonso, who seems to have plenty of speed in it. So Michael's in an awkward pincer movement here, I think.
Ted has news from Ferrari.
And Ross Brawn is trying to figure this out, because as we heard from Ron Dennis, Michael's in a difficult situation. He stopped 2 laps earlier than Kimi Raikkonen. Their stop times were pretty similar, so we're only talking about those 2 laps. Michael hasn't got the ability to stay out longer than Raikkonen and put the hot laps in to try and get him in the stop. So you can see Ross Brawn now, he's hunched over, he's looking at all the figures. He needs to figure out a way to get past Kimi Raikkonen, because Ferrari believe that their car is quicker than the McLaren, but I don't see how he's going to do it, Martin.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on track to suggest that either. They've been pretty even Stevens, haven't they, since the start of the race. But It's the gap's a second 0.9 now, so Raikkonen just easing it out a little bit.
Schumacher across the line then. And let's have a listen. First half of the lap, they hardly touched the brakes. Listen. That was 175 mile an hour in Cops. Here comes Maggots. That's just a gear change, no brake. Onto the hanger straight, up to 195 miles an hour. And listen to the entry to Stowe. Again, they don't touch the brakes. Just go down a couple of gears. Listen.
I think in race conditions they'll need a touch of brake pedal into there, but it's still mighty fast. That's why they're struggling to overtake around there this afternoon. There's no braking zones anymore, so to speak. That's where the overtaking gets done, and that's clearly going to change for next year when we're back, I think, onto one tyre manufacturer, and it'll change again significantly for 2008. That's the problem they've got. The cars are just so good.
Well, we saw them, the change of direction you saw is Maggots and then into the Beckett's corners. That's where the accident was on the first lap. A wonderful ride on board there with Michael Schumacher. And the cars, Formula 1 car, at that point, has got a lateral load on it of 4.5 G. So that's 4.5 times Schumacher's body weight, pushing him to the side of the car, then shifting immediately in a split second to the other side of the car, and then back again. Imagine the force on your neck and your ribs and your arms. In the meantime, the weight of air passing over the wings of the car is equivalent to 2,500 kilos of downforce. That's like putting a Rolls-Royce on top of the car, pushing it down to the racetrack, and that's why they're able to go through there just as quickly as they are. What does it feel like being in the cockpit?
Well, it feels great because you throw the steering wheel at the corner, the car just sticks, and it's just this incredible energy level, and the scenery's rushing past your peripheral vision. And it actually all feels very calm when you get used to it, but it's when it all goes horribly wrong, you suddenly realise just how fast you're travelling. Alonso leads then on lap 37, 11 seconds now ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen is definitely coming back at him, and Michael Schumacher hanging on a second further behind in the Ferrari, third at the moment.
Большинство предпочли ехать сейчас на том же самом агрегате. Даже те, кто имели возможность, как Вебер и Росберг, у обоих была одна и та же проблема. Электрику заклинило электрические провода, которые находились слишком близко к выхлопным трубам, и вот перегрелись. У Вебера это выглядело как возгорание мотора, у Росберга это выглядело как ошибка пилота в Антонина Гессе. На самом деле одна и та же вот электрическая проблема, связанная с перегревом, но сами двигатели не были повреждены. И хотя оба сошли с дистанции, да, и вроде бы в Косворсе могли абсолютно не без всякой пенализации на 10 мест поменять эти двигатели, поставить абсолютно новые агрегаты вот на эту гонку в Сильверстоуне, но зная, что следующая эта гонка будет также очень требовательная для моторов, это будет Гран-при Канады, предпочли использовать здесь те самые агрегаты, которые не так и серьезно пострадали в Монако. Напомню, там менее 50% кругов в пол против 71% здесь в Сильверстоуне. В прошлом году было всего 59. Мы видим на 12% вот за счет более мягкой резины и за счет, как ни парадоксально, меньшей максимальной скорости на прямых. Для мотора, конечно, эта трасса стала гораздо более требовательна. Но пока у нас 37 кругов позади. И кроме вот этого эпизода с Дженсоном Баттоном, больших проблем мы не видели. Напомню, что все три гонщика, которые кроме Дженсона пока в гонке не участвуют, сошли из-за столкновения. Соответственно, виновником его был Ральф Шумахер. Шумахеру занесло. Ну и дальше по цепочке Скотт Спид, Марк Вебер. Все они сошли с дистанции. И этот инцидент будет расследоваться комиссарами. Ну что ж, 37-й круг. Планировалось, что Трулли заедет на 34-м. Если верить, что он останавливался на 17-м. И по, опять же, вот этим титрам режиссера ему залили на 17 кругов топлива. Соответственно, либо здесь ошибка, но очень большая в 3 круга, потому что дотянул до 37-го ярна. Либо же в момент пит-стопа у него оставалось в баке топлива. Вот то, что мы предполагали относительно Михаэля Шумахера. И вполне возможно, что если скажут расслабиться, да, тому же Кими Райконену, то Михаэль Шумахер возьмет и вместо того, чтобы за круг до Кими останавливаться, возьмет и пересидит того круга эдак на 4, если у него было лишнее топливо в момент первого пит-стопа. И тогда вполне возможно сможет отыграть вторую позицию. А первый пока речи, еще раз напомню, просто не идет. Ибо 11 секунд между Алонсо и Райконеном, даже 11,7 уже десятых сейчас после 38-го круга дистанции. Шумахер держится секунды и 4 десятых. Физика так и завис в 4 секундах и 6 0,6 позади Михаэля Шумахера, но смог вновь оторваться от Филиппе Массы. Там практически 4,5 секунды в свою очередь между Рено и Феррари. Монтоя по-прежнему в 18 секундах позади Филиппе. На 9 уже опережает Хайтфельда, тот на 7 Росберга. И Жак Вильнёв начал догонять очковую группу. Менее 2 секунд Жаку остается до Ника Росберга. Секунда и 8 десятых, если быть точным. С другой стороны, сзади к нему постепенно приближается Хонда Рубенса Баррикелло. 2,6.
Approaching two-thirds distance in this British Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso looks to have things under control at the front, but behind him, Kimi Raikkonen, Michael Schumacher and Giancarlo Fisichella are pretty close together on the racetrack, and any one of those three could finish second, third or fourth. Still a lot of racing to go here at Silverstone. Massa is fifth. Haven't seen too much of him this afternoon. He's more or less on his own really in fifth place. Montoya is 18 seconds behind him in the second McLaren in sixth spot. Nick Heidfeld had a wonderful start, running as high as second place before his first round of pit stops. He is on for another points finish for BMW Sauber. It would be their 6th in 8 races if they could do it. What a turnaround since BMW took over from Sauber. He's in 7th place. And Rosberg, a charging Nico Rosberg, is currently up in 8th place. Can he get a point after a very unpromising free practice and qualifying for the Williams team?
4 retirements, Button with some kind of either hydraulic or oil line off or an engine failure, but I suspect not the engine failure at that time. Speed, who collected Ralf Schumacher, and then he was in turn collected by Webber on the first lap, so we lost 3 of them before they managed to get a mile into the Grand Prix, unfortunately. Michael Schumacher, interestingly, has just posted his fastest lap of the race so far. Now, we were talking about this in the paddock before the race in terms of the track is changing a lot, and is it going to come to the Bridgestone runners or the Michelin runners? There's been a lot of activity out there this weekend on the racetrack, and it's a living thing, and I think it's suddenly Michael appears to have the better pace out there and is coming back at Raikkonen, so that's an interesting turn of events. Meanwhile, he's dropped Fisichella, who's 4th, now 6 seconds adrift. Coulthard, I suspect, has got problems. He's lapping very slowly. He just let his teammate Klein go through, and he's now some couple of seconds off the pace. So I wonder if we're seeing the early demise of the remaining British driver in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope DC, twice a winner here, of course, of the British Grand Prix, is able to make it to the finish. Not really too much of a chance of points at the moment. He's down in 12th place. And, well, he's only had 2 point scoring finishes this season. It really is very hard for the midfield teams to get anything out of these Grand Prix weekends at the moment, because the big teams are really hogging all the points. Renault have got 91 points, for example, and Red Bull Racing a mere 8, most of which were Coulthard's podium in Monaco 2 weeks ago. So it's hard times in the midfield, but that is the way of Formula One. And there is Coulthard with Jarno Trulli right behind him and catching him pretty quickly.
Still on track, doesn't pit, then David Coulthard. But let's have a look at his lap time. This time, yeah, still pretty slow. So something going on inside there. Ferrari getting ready. Michael Schumacher was in first time, last time around, and we know he's in already.
Yeah, that was a quick turnaround. No sooner did you see the mechanics bouncing the tyres onto the pit apron, and Schumacher appeared in the pit lane. So a quick turnaround there for Michael Schumacher, and he is back out again with 19 laps to go to the finish. That's his last stop of the day, just a 2-stop strategy for most of the front runners, or in fact most of the runners here at Silverstone. It's the fastest way to negotiate these 60 laps and carry the fuel that you need to the race. It uses up about 158 kilos of fuel to contest the British Grand Prix. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? And well, it uses 2.6 kilos of fuel every lap around here.
Yes, the reason I asked Ron then is how closely they can monitor exactly how long the nozzle is on in a pit stop. Is every second there's about 4.5 laps worth of fuel going in the cars, 13 litres per second. So it is quite critical to know if you want to be trying to outfox your main rivals, to know exactly when they did manage to get that nozzle on. And Louise has some news at Red Bull.
Yeah, down in the Red Bull garage you can see the team waiting in the pit lane for David Coulthard to come in. He has been complaining of quite bad understeer, so that's probably what accounts for the lack of pace that we've seen. I'll keep an eye on the stop and see if they make some changes to correct that whilst he's in the pit lane.
Well, Rubens Barrichello, meanwhile, has dropped out of the points. He's down in 10th place. And Michael Schumacher, who has just gone out with fuel and a new set of tyres, has just set the fastest middle sector of anybody so far. Kimi Räikkönen is into the pits. It's going to be close between these two.
I tell you what, Kimi's going to have to absolutely nail it, because Schumacher's getting the job done out there. Schumacher, I think, is going to pass him down the pit straight. He is indeed. Look at that. Pulled that one out of the bag when he needed to, and Räikkönen will be gobsmacked to see that Ferrari so far ahead of him, because Michael Schumacher did the fastest second and third sectors of anybody this afternoon on those fresh tyres, and gets himself ahead of Kimi Räikkönen.
What a tremendous turnaround for Michael Schumacher and Ferrari. I wonder if it's a case of just concealing his actual pace a little bit, like he did in Imola, do you remember, to Fernando Alonso? Concealed how much speed he really had, and then just around the time of his stop, put the hammer down, set in the purple sector times, and bingo, job done.
Right, now as Barrichello pits for Honda from 10th place, the Renault pit lane, pit wall will be studyingly thinking on an altogether different finish to the afternoon now. They've got a different race on their hands. They look like they had Räikkönen covered, and suddenly they've got to think about how fast Schumacher can be for the rest of the afternoon, the next 17 laps.
Yeah, and don't forget that Giancarlo Fisichella was shaping up to have something to say about Michael Schumacher as well. And he's not that close at the moment, so it's quite interesting times for Renault. A lot of thinking going on for head strategist Pat Simmons as to how they play this. If you're wondering what that motif is, incidentally, on the engine cover of the Renault, it's obviously the UK is one of many countries no tobacco sponsorship allowed, and that is a tiger motif which replaces their normal sponsor logos. The idea being that the tiger is a symbol of protection as Albers makes his pit stop. So Alonso and Fisichella being protected, and I think Renault thinking that perhaps the Tiger might protect Alonso's 21-point lead in this World Championship. But I have a feeling that the other big beast of the jungle, Michael Schumacher, has other ideas.
So Renault getting ready then. Surely for Fernando Alonso, he's got a good cushion. Well, Michael's going to have to take something like 3/4 of a second a lap out of him, isn't he? So providing this is a solid pit stop with no problems, then Alonso is still in the comfort zone. He just coasts into his pit box, doesn't he? He's not going to frighten anybody away. If you steam in, everybody just backs off a little bit. And, well, perfect.
Absolutely perfect. Everything about this Renault operation at the moment is singing. But as Michael Schumacher, Giancarlo Fisichella goes through to take the lead. He'll make his second stop in a few laps' time. As Michael Schumacher was saying the other day, one of these days, sooner or later, Renault and will make a mistake, and Alonso will make a mistake. And when they do, we'll be ready to pounce.
Now that's critical, though. Alonso got out in front of Massa. Now Ferrari would have loved to have had Massa in there, and with a chance of at least spoiling some of the afternoon of Alonso. But Alonso's just got back out in front of him, so we're not expecting any problems there. And Ted is down in pit lane.
Yeah, I'm in the Ferrari garage, and I tell you what, Alonso will be okay, because that was a new set of tyres, Martin. Fernando's last new set of tyres that he put on there, so he should be able to stay ahead of Massa, no problem. But also, Ferrari down here, they're absolutely stunned by Michael's pace, because on that last in-lap, they also put a new set of tyres on in his pit stop. But I mean, that wouldn't have made much difference with Räikkönen. But full of admiration down here in the Ferrari garage as they get ready for Massa, who's coming in.
Michael's done it time and time again, hasn't he? Puts the hammer down in critical phases of the race, and I think they won't be as stunned as McLaren were. Massa then clearly getting ready for a pit stop. He's third at the moment. It's a very fast approach to the pit lane here at Silverstone. You've got to get it all slowed down to 100 kilometers per hour, about 62 miles an hour, before a white line you can't really see as you're peeping over the top of your steering wheel. Fisichella away cleanly.
Yep, briefly led the British Grand Prix, Giancarlo Fisichella. This is the front wing of Felipe Massa as he pulls out of the pit lane as well and rejoins. Got as high as third place then, but he'll now drop back behind Michael Schumacher and Kimi Räikkönen as Juan Pablo Montoya in the McLaren also makes a pit. Look at the curvature of that front wing, and look at the damage of the side pod, left-hand side of Montoya's car.
The fuel nozzle was only just out of the way. It was down to fractions. And how's this going to work out? Is that the Toyota? Who was that going through there? No, it's Heidfeld. Has he got back in front? Genuinely back in front? He's got a...
Heidfeld and Villeneuve, in fact, they're together on the racetrack. Heidfeld is, well, not together, but they are they're 7th and 8th. And in fact, Heidfeld's well gone. Villeneuve is was the car in front. So Montoya's dropped back behind both of the BMW Saubers.
But they've both got to stop again.
They have, but well, Heidfeld 16 seconds up the road from Montoya, and some time to go yet. So I wonder whether Heidfeld's going to be able to leapfrog Montoya. That's going to be something, isn't it? A BMW Sauber leapfrogging a McLaren.
Start pits from P12, started P11. Not been a great afternoon, has it, in terms of roll pace? I think DC expected a little bit better than that. Clean enough stop, away he goes. It's so hard to not trigger the anti-stall systems and all sorts of systems on these cars. I found when I was driving the Red Bull a couple of weeks ago here, just so many systems on the car that you've got to work your way around. And we see I love this camera angle of Michael Schumacher, the maestro at work.
Well, Heidfeld has just come into the pit, so he wasn't able to go as far as he would have liked to have done relative to Montoya. I don't think he's going to have enough time to leapfrog Montoya. Probably isn't going to work out for him.
Same as last time, isn't it? Well, not as bad as last time, but just somehow not being able to find first or any kind of clutch engagement.
Here comes Villeneuve through, so no, Heidfeld drops back behind Montoya, I believe. So a few problems to be worked on there in pit stops for BMW Sauber. We're right on board with Michael Schumacher. 14 laps to go here at Silverstone.
Показывает лучшее для себя время. Да, но не феноменально относительно, помните, результата Фернандо Алонсо. Тем не менее, 1:22 921 тысячная секунды. Баки практически пустые. Резина не страдает на BMW не только у Хейтфельда, но и у Жака Вильнёва, который как раз раньше, наоборот, отличался, в отличие от, вы видели, тонкой игры педалью газа Ника. Жак отличался тем, что педаль-то газа себе регулировал в районе 2 мм рабочего хода, то есть он постепенно, вот эти индикаровские замашки, хорошие на овалах, но, может быть, не очень там, где нужно тонко дозировать. Тем более теперь с появлением трекшн-контроля системы очень и очень сложная и умная, в отличие от иногда дорожных машин. Здесь она настолько регулируется под пилота, что далеко не всегда мешает пилотировать, хотя и далеко не всегда помогает. И, по крайней мере, на расход резины, к сожалению, может быть, шинников влияет очень серьезно. Так Рено в прошлом году в Монако поплатилась как раз за неправильный настройки трекшн-контроля. Он слишком активно вмешивался в управление на выходе из медленных шпилек, коих в Монако, естественно, большинство. И резина была у физика и Алонсо стесана буквально до корда к финишу этой гонки. Но здесь вот BMW, видимо, удалось и тип резины во многом благодаря работе того же Кубицы, лучшее время показавшего в пятницу на свободных заездах, и благодаря вот особенностям пилотажа как Ника Хейтфельда, так и Жака Вильнёва настроить очень неплохо свой болид. Он идет быстро в конце серии. Если бы не эта заминка еще раз у Хейтфельда на старте с первого пит-стопа, вполне возможно, что он был бы и впереди Хуана Пабло Монтоя. И теперь же после, соответственно, вот этой второй дозаправки, как и Монтоя, который второй раз остановился, он вернулся назад. Что касается сейчас Кристиана Клина, который на ваших экранах, то Кристиан Клин на 14-й позиции, которая, впрочем, вскоре рискует превратиться в 13-ю. Позади на этот раз Дэвида Култхарда. Вновь поменялись местами после второй дозаправки эти два гонщика. А между ними сейчас идет еще и Торо Россо Витантонио Льюци. Но Льюци — это единственный, наряду с Жаком Вильнёвым, гонщик, который пока так и не побывал в боксах на своей второй дозаправке. Льюци и Вильнёв останавливались очень поздно. Оба на 27-м круге вместе с Кристианом Клином. Но если Кристиан Клин, вы помните, был чуть ли не одним из первых, кто поехал на свой второй пит-стоп, вот относительно Дэвида Култхарда не самая лучшая была тактика, как мы видим. Очень корректно сейчас пропустил Феррари вперед на круг. И Жак Вильнёв в боксах. Жак Вильнёв, который шел на 6-м месте. Соответственно, это 6-е место сейчас уступает Монтойе. 7-е, скорее всего, Хейтфельду. И весь вопрос относительно Ника Росберга. На какой позиции Жак вернется на трассу. Напомню, что он шел позади него. Росберг замыкал во время второго отрезка гонки очковую зону. Шел на 8-м месте. Вильнёв был 9-м. Но Росберг уже несколько...
into the closing stages of the British Grand Prix from Silverstone. Terrific crowd here this afternoon. We've had 4 days of unbroken sunshine. We watched the England-Paraguay game on the giant screens here yesterday. A wonderful turnout really across the whole weekend, and a carnival atmosphere. Everybody basking in this unpredictably lovely June weather that we've had this weekend, and everybody really enjoying themselves. Unfortunately, we've only got one of the 2 British drivers still circulating. David Coulthard is 12th at the moment. We lost Jenson Button fairly early on with a failure at the rear end of the car, possibly a hydraulic line or oil line, or possibly even an engine failure. So very disappointing for him, having qualified in 19th place. He was fighting his way well through the field and got as high as 12th before that failure. Off the start then, pole sitter Alonso, Kimi Raikkonen and Michael Schumacher away in formation. And there was a crash behind them though between Scott Speed, Mark Webber and Ralf Schumacher, which eliminated all 3 of them, and which the stewards are currently thinking about. Certainly Martin up here in the commentary box with me pinned the blame squarely on the Toro Rosso driver Scott Speed. First round of pit stops, Alonso was able to use the longer fuel that they'd put in his car to build a comfortable lead over Raikkonen, who was second, and Michael Schumacher third. But at the second round of pit stops, Schumacher, possibly concealing his pace in the second stint from the McLaren team, was able to leapfrog Raikkonen, and he is now in second place. He was threatening to close the gap to Alonso, who has had to respond here and up his pace. He was lapping in the mid 1:23s when he had Raikkonen behind him, but now he's gone into the mid 1:22s and is pushing much, much harder in the closing stages of this Grand Prix. Not really able to take any part in the proceedings at the front of the number 2 drivers here this afternoon. Fisichella for Renault is some way off in 4th place. 5th is Massa in the Ferrari, the number 2 driver there, and 6th Montoya in the McLaren. They haven't really been able to join in, although Fisichella briefly threatened to have a bit of a look at Michael Schumacher earlier on. And then we've got 2 BMW Sauber drivers, Heidfeld and Villeneuve, who've managed to get themselves into 7th and 8th places. But Nico Rosberg, here he is in the Williams, is chasing down Villeneuve for that final points-paying position.
Williams have announced they're going to Toyota next year. Well, they haven't announced it actually, but they are, aren't they? Which is bad news for...
You've just announced it.
Well, it was in the comics as well during the week, but let's hope Cosworth finds a berth somewhere. I'm sure they will, because they've put out a stonking engine this year in the back of this Williams, but Williams then moving to the might of Toyota for their engine supply in the future.
Yep, a lot of rumours that they might brand that with the Lexus brand.
Okay, keep pushing at the point in front of you.
There's a World Championship point in front of you, and it's just 1.6 seconds in front of him, and it's Jacques Villeneuve. So Rosberg's coming at him, and Fisichella's coming at Raikkonen too for 3rd and 4th. So I'd like to hear the Renault radio. Would be fascinating right now. They'll be pushing Fizzy very hard because there's a podium there for him.
Yeah, Raikkonen at the moment is a good 7 or 8 tenths of a second slower than the race leader Fernando Alonso and Michael Schumacher as well. So the pace not really there at the moment for the McLaren, and Fisichella is getting onto the same sort of pace as his teammate Alonso at the moment. So there you go. The gap then down to, well, 1.5 seconds between the 2 of them. Rosberg chasing a point, as we've just been seeing, and he's twice finished in the points so far this season in quite spectacular fashion. And if he can do it here this afternoon after qualifying in 12th place, that would be a great effort for young Nico Rosberg.
Renault's been pretty bulletproof on reliability as well. A 1-3 is beckoning here if Fisichella could find himself a bit of extra pace. Quite where he would make the overtaking move, I'm not entirely sure. It would have to be a Dan Dare move up the inside of Raikkonen somewhere, and another extra spectator for the afternoon that we weren't expecting there, Jenson Button.
I know you've written about it today in the newspapers. I know you've thought about it a lot. You talk to him a lot, as do I. But what's the state of mind of Jenson Button right now, do you think?
Pretty depressed, I'd imagine. It's, you know, as you said earlier, to have to come to the race, the British Grand Prix, and sort of apologise, I think it was a smart thing to do. I didn't actually hear it. I only heard that when you talked about it earlier in the show. But it's hard for him. At the end of the day, they're young men, and they've been in this since 8, 9 years old, and they've only ever known going to racetracks, and sometimes they they don't have the full perspective of life that other people do, have been through a more normal process. And I think the expectation level, the spotlight burning in the back of their necks of having to deliver week in, week out, qualifying, racing, testing, do the PR, and all of the travel that goes with the Grand Prix circus. And it's tough for them. It must be really hard for them to balance up what's going on and react and respond accordingly.
And of course, he's been around a few years now, Jenson Button. He started at the age of 20. He's now just 26, but certainly a veteran in those terms. I wonder if there's a feeling that maybe he might miss the boat. You know, that's the greatest fear, isn't it, for Jenson? If Honda don't come up with a good car, he's committed to that team now for the long term. If they don't come up with a good car in the next few years, might he miss the boat? Certainly, there's no question in my mind he's good enough to win Grand Prix, and definitely good enough to string a few together and win a world championship. But as Alonso is proving now, and as Michael Schumacher proved in the last few years, you have to have a winning package underneath you. Then it's just about soaking up the pressure and being able to go out and deliver week in, week out, which is why one driver in a team generally always rises to the top, leaving the other one in his shadow. And certainly in my mind, Jenson's capable of that. He just needs the package under him.
Ted's got some news on Fisichella, who's currently hunting down Raikkonen.
Yeah, Martin, down in the Renault garage, and Renault are giving Fisichella all the revs they can, but they can't give him everything because this engine needs to go and do Montreal, the next race in Canada, and that, as we all know, is such a tough track on engines, so they can't give him full revs, but they're giving him whatever they can. They think he can get that podium, and they're telling him that Kimi is slow in Sector 1, so if Fisi can get up amongst him on the hangar straight, he might be able to slipstream him into Copse.
Very good point indeed, Ted. Yeah, McLaren have been slow all weekend in Sector 1, and that's certainly an opportunity. But Denis Chevrier, who's the boss of Renault on the engine side, was telling us that the crucial thing really from the Renault's point of view on the engine this year is that they've been able to use the revs and the power, the maximum, whenever they want to at critical stages of the race. And he was saying earlier in the weekend, it's a vital part of why Alonso has been able to do what he's done this season and win races. He did it again here today. Around the time of the first pit stops, he clearly turned the engine right up and had tremendous power and performance, and at that point he was able to shake off Raikkonen. The gap went out from about 5 seconds to about 11 seconds in a very brief period of time, and that's one of the secrets of Renault's success. And here now, in the hands of Fisichella, clearly the same thing going on, but the calculation has to be, I don't want to take too much out of it, with, as Ted was saying, Canada coming up, which is such a terribly difficult circuit, not only on engines but on transmissions as well.
We talk about #1 drivers and the world-class drivers that are Alonso, Michael Schumacher, Kimi Raikkonen, and it's only a few tenths per lap, but here we are in the closing stage of the Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher's 20 seconds ahead of his teammate Massa. Alonso's 20 seconds ahead of his teammate Fisichella. And they're looking for fractions, for shavings, but doesn't it make a big difference over 60 laps? And, you know, if you took Alonso out of Renault's equation and then add, it would be a significantly different story, wouldn't it? Which, of course, is exactly what's going to happen next year when he goes to McLaren.
Yeah, they've got high hopes for their test driver Heikki Kovalainen, but to expect too much of a guy who was in GP2 last year and has been testing this year, I'm sure he'll be very, very fast. And he may well turn out to be another Alonso, but he can't be a team leader in his first season. They've got to put someone else alongside him. And it's interesting, you asked Flavio on the grid about his plans for the future, and he made a joke with you saying, if you stay in Formula 1, Martin, so will I. But there is a lot of talk about it, and Briatore said earlier this weekend he'll make his decision about his future in August. He has a lot of other business interests. He has nightclubs, he has boating businesses, he has manufacturing businesses as well. He's a very busy man, Flavio Briatore. Surely part of the calculation must be, what kind of team will this be without Fernando Alonso in it? Do I want to stick around and not win?
Long way to go, yep, before we have to worry too much about next season. But Fisichella then still homing in on Raikkonen, but the trouble is he's now in that dirty air zone where the turbulent air coming, the air that's worked so hard to pin Raikkonen's McLaren to the racetrack. The turbulence is going over his front wing, and he's...
Makala, you have 8 Ks on him on the straight. Come on, get him, get him. Just payback for Suzuka.
Payback for Suzuka. This is when Kimi overtook him, didn't he, on the last lap, right into turn 1 with a brilliant move at the end of last year. He's got 8 kilometres, 5 miles an hour on him, but I don't think he'll ever get anywhere near enough to use that extra speed, because that'll go up to probably 15 kilometers if he gets a good slipstream.
Yep, Suzuka, the home of the Japanese Grand Prix, and those of us who enjoyed that on F1 ITV will never forget that race. One of the all-time great Grand Prix at the end of the 2005 season. Not only Raikkonen passing Fisichella, but Alonso passing Michael Schumacher around the outside of the legendary 130R corner, where none of us can really ever recall ever seeing anybody pass anybody like that before. It was a classic, no doubt about it. Well, has Fisichella got the bit between his teeth? He certainly was aggressive in Monaco 2 weeks ago. Passed 5 cars around the streets of Monaco, which not too many people do in an afternoon. Came into this weekend on the back of that saying, hey, listen, I'm driving the best I've ever driven in my career. And this is where you're going to see the best of Fisichella. Look how aggressive I was in Monaco. Well, he's got a great opportunity just to repeat that here with 4 laps to go at Silverstone.
It's interesting, isn't it? The radio conversation is great that we can hear it. I think the trouble is I'd start thinking about Suzuka as I was heading down the hangar straight, trying to think, yeah, what exactly happened there? But it's a good stimulation for him, you know, okay, let's get even on this. But he's just falling back slightly there. As I say, the turbulent air, he's hit the 1 second barrier and he just can't get through it to get a look at the back of Raikkonen.
As a driver, how much do you actually need those kind of pep talks? I mean, you're pretty self-motivating characters, aren't you? But do you need that, or is it reassuring? Does it give you a bit of extra?
It's something that's relatively new, I think, to be honest, to have those kind of discussions and conversations. I mean, we know that we don't hear any of it, unfortunately, from Ferrari, but we know that Michael talks a lot to his team, even on qualifying laps. I think Michael probably drove that as a new frontier of communication between a driver and his team. But I certainly am from the era where you only spoke when it was absolutely necessary to pass some information over, probably because also the radio systems are much better now too.
Well, it's great that Renault leave their radios open. We really appreciate it. I'm sure you all do at home as well. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could hear from Ferrari? So why don't you send an email to Ferrari headquarters, to Luca Colliani, and ask him to open up the radio so we can all enjoy the conversations between Ross Brawn and Michael Schumacher. 2 laps to go here in the British Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso looks like he's got it pretty well covered. Michael Schumacher has leapfrogged Kimi Raikkonen in the second round of pit stops, and he is now 10 seconds up the road from the Finn, who has Giancarlo Fisichella breathing down his neck now. The margin less than a second. Felipe Massa is 5th, Montoya 6th. And really the main battle on the racetrack is this Fisichella-Raikkonen battle for the final podium place here this afternoon. The short shifting there.
Yeah, he's really keeping that engine, isn't he? Really low revs, taking the gear up very early in the corner. It tends to calm the wheel spin down a bit there too. Just looks after the rear tyres. You'll lose pace, but that's just not a problem for him.
Definitely the sign. That was Fernando Alonso, of course. Definitely a sign that of a driver managing his race. We cut back then to this scrap for 3rd. And as we were saying, one of the problems here at Silverstone is getting close enough in the dirty air to make a pass with these Formula 1 cars. We have seen it in the past quite a bit, but you do need to be very brave to make your way through here.
His gear shift lights are not even coming up on the steering wheel. He's nowhere near the power band in the thing. It doesn't need to be. He's just cutting back on it, saving it for another day. They're out of sequence though, aren't they? The 2 Renaults, aren't they out of kilter? So presumably Alonso, I've lost track of it a little bit as to who's on the first engine cycle or the second race cycle, but I think Alonso just coasting around, isn't he?
Yeah, the rule, of course, in Formula 1, you have to make an engine last 2 Grand Prix weekends. If you change it at any stage during the weekend, then you take a penalty. 10 places back on the grid is the penalty.
And he is changing it for the next race, so there is no need really to save it. Resting his head against the side of the cockpit. It's been a tough afternoon of high lateral G-force, and I think Alonso's just a little bit bored out there.
Well, he's certainly made it look easy, hasn't he? Fernando Alonso, he can almost get out and push it home now. He's got a 12-second margin, and he's looking for his first British Grand Prix victory to add to his first Monaco victory a couple of weeks ago. This is going to be win number 5 in 8 races so far this season. And what a performance all weekend, really, from the Spaniard. Fernando Alonso wins.
The world champion, I think, confirms he's the world's best driver right now. That was a perfect performance, wasn't it? He really had the measure of everybody, the track conditions. Schumacher then second, closely followed 8 seconds down the road. In fact, Kimi Raikkonen, Fisichella didn't get the job done. He remains fourth.
And that's interesting because Fisichella has only been on the podium twice this season for Renault. But this is the 14th straight going back into last season for Alonso, and clearly his 8th podium this season. So that is the difference between the two of them at the moment. Alonso is characteristic, playing with the camera.
Beautiful, lovely race, mate. Really, really good, fantastic result. Well done, mate.
So the last unlapped runner will be Rosberg in 9th. He's not going to get that point that was just down the road. Villeneuve takes it. Well, I'm sure he's going to take it. They're still actually making their way around. They were some 70-odd seconds behind. So 7th, 8th and 9th in their final sectors. Heidfeld takes 7th. Villeneuve was 6 seconds behind him, will take the final World Championship point. Rosberg then on the bubble. That's a terrible feeling when you've driven well and you're going home with absolutely nothing. 9th, may as well be 19th.
Not a particularly fast race this year, Martin. Over 1 hour 25 minutes, over half a minute slower than last year's Grand Prix, won by Juan Pablo Montoya.
So, a bit of safety car in there, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
Stretched it out, but it's just been so hot. Track temperature 47 degrees. Silverstone, for goodness sake. It's normally about half that, isn't it?
So Alonso adding another 2 points to his World Championship lead over Michael Schumacher. It was 21 coming here, it's now 23. And, well, Schumacher really needs Alonso to make a mistake fairly soon. We've still got 10 races to go in this World Championship, of course. That still means there's another 100 World Championship points available. Plenty of time for Ferrari to put on a winning spurt, but they do need Alonso to have some few misfortunes if they're going to get back on terms, really. And I think it's important, really, for Alonso to leave Renault as a double world champion, because moving to a new team at McLaren, never quite sure. They've lost a few key technical people, not quite sure what the package will be like for next year. To have 2 world championships under your belt makes a big difference. Well, we've seen some strong performances this weekend, right throughout. Jenson Button was going well in the race, if not quite so well in qualifying. Clearly, Alonso dominant at the front. Who's your driver of the day?
I think actually the guys 7th, 8th and 9th did a great job. Heidfeld, Villeneuve and Nico Rosberg sort of outperformed their cars today, but you've got to give it to Alonso. He absolutely was perfect. He did everything he needed to do, got the pace, got them all covered. Michael Schumacher's little stint in the middle there where he surprised, I'm sure, Raikkonen was pretty special. But Alonso for me.
Yeah, so Schumacher can't really get that winning feeling back the way he wants to. At the moment, that feeling is monopolised by Fernando Alonso, who's well on target to get a record points haul here, even eclipsing the years when Schumacher totally dominated Formula One in 2002 and 2004. If Alonso carries on at this rate, he'll surpass that. In bed at night and plans his next victory celebration move, but they get more and more bizarre with every race he wins.
It's out of a movie, isn't it? A movie that him and his mates like to watch. Apparently, all kinds of things going on. We'll have to.
Oh no, you're out of touch, mate. That was like 5 races ago.
Oh, was it? What
yeah, something different. Who knows? Who knows? It looks like something from the garden, a garden gnome position.
Raikkonen will be too happy on the podium with that 3rd. I think he may have felt he should have and could have had Michael Schumacher covered this afternoon. And Schumi will feel that he didn't have the pace, made the best of a bad job, but Ferrari was so punchy after that test last week, weren't they, when they went so well in Barcelona, and casting an eye over his competitors. Michael, just about the only one with his brain still engaged, having a look at the rear tyres and general condition of the competitors, but he very much wears his mood on his face, doesn't he, Michael? You can read him like a book.
Very much so, and I think that face tells you that he knows that the car wasn't quite quick enough. Yep, that's a look we've seen before, isn't it? It's a look that says, this is the summer in which I'm deciding whether to carry on in Formula One, and at the moment, the picture is not massively rosy. There's Sabine Kem, his right-hand woman, making her way up the stairs behind him towards the podium.
Was Michael there just pushing the cameraman back down, saying, stay clear? Not a happy bunny. Yeah, Michael not keen for the camera to follow him up the stairs. Maybe it's not his best angle.
Well, he didn't get weighed, did he, on the way up? He's gone straight up to the podium, so maybe there was some conversation about that. There is Kimi Räikkönen, who finished third, ran second for a lot of the Grand Prix, and there's your winner, Fernando Alonso, looking as cool as a cucumber. He doesn't mind the camera one little bit.
What Spanish is for cucumber, I'll find out. This is going to be an interesting podium.
Just getting ready for the formalities to go out on the podium. Always an interesting moment just to see the drivers, their reflections.
Not a bead of sweat on him as usual. He always looks in better condition than the other drivers, doesn't he? Even those that are sort of 10, 12 years his junior.
You know, she doesn't really talk to Alonso. They don't really talk to each other, do they? There's Remy Taffin, the engine engineer for Fernando Alonso. We've had Rod Nelson, the chassis engineer, up there in the past. I guess he wins so often now, there are members of the cast to join him up there. Margin in the end, almost 14 seconds over Michael Schumacher, and that is quite a margin. Peter Hain then, member of the Cabinet, Secretary of State for Northern Ireland and Wales. I had dinner with him last night, entertaining company he is too, and he presents the prize to Fernando Alonso.
What I love about the British Formula One fans, they're ready to support the Spaniards and the Germans. You know, they appreciate excellence, as well as, of course, supporting their own very strongly.
Absolutely right. So another race victory for Renault. It may be number 5 for Alonso. It's number 6 this season out of 8 for Renault, of course. Only Michael Schumacher, with his 2 wins at the Nürburgring and Imola, has managed to break through the Renault stranglehold. Minister for Sport there, presenting Michael Schumacher with his trophy. He's come to Silverstone 15 times. And, well, he's won this race 3 times, which might sound a lot, but compared to places where other places he's won 7 and 8 times, he's always had a bit of a thing at Silverstone. Only 1 pole position as well in all of those 15 years. and Kimi Räikkönen, he'll be annoyed to have lost second place to Schumacher. He had it covered in the early part of the Grand Prix, but Ferrari and Schumacher able to get past him in the second round of pit stops.
Congratulations all round from the podium party, who now leave the rostrum.
Well, it wasn't a thrilling British Grand Prix, but it was certainly an entertaining one. I think we're going to have to rely on the football team if we want any British sporting success in the near future. Meanwhile, here at Silverstone, Fernando Alonso has showed us his class. He really owns Formula One at the moment.
And now thanks go to Martin and James, and that's a celebration that we've seen most recently in Barcelona and in Monaco, and now here at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And it all means that Fernando Alonso, the young lad from Oxford, has taken an even stronger grip on this Formula One World Championship. Spain celebrates, Britain admires, and we'll examine exactly how he did it in a few minutes' time. Here at Silverstone, the British Grand Prix has been won by Fernando Alonso. His first success in this event, a supremely dominant performance, and really that's the only way, Mark Blundell, it can be described.
Exactly. There's no other way to describe that. It's just faultless. There's nothing that the guy did what was wrong. The team operation side, faultless as well. You have to look at it, Steve, and say, who's going to stop these guys now to pull off another title? I don't see anybody at the moment doing so.
How much of that success was Renault? And it's a great home success because they've got all their factory team here from just down the road at Enstone. But how much was Alonso?
You know, I think it's a joint effort on that side of things. They give the guy a great car. They operate the car throughout the race with no problems whatsoever. They've got superb strategy. And then they plug him in and he does the job as well for him. But not only does he do it, he does it in style. I mean, you know, he's really kicking the backside of everybody on that grid at this moment in time. And you can see the face there of Michael Schumacher up on the podium. He knows it, and he's not prepared to take it for much longer.
Was this the point in the season that maybe Michael Schumacher is shrugging his shoulders and saying, well, I'm out of the World Championship, in terms of this year at least?
You know what, it could be the point that he's saying he might be out of Formula One, because he's looking at the young generation guys, and they're pulling World Championships off already, and they're winning races in such style. Maybe he's thinking about his future while he stands on a podium, and this race may just be the start of that.
Well, at the start, we were all looking forward to the tremendous battle between the top three in the sport, between Alonso, between Räikkönen and Schumacher. Perfect start from Alonso.
A great start from Alonso, but a fantastic opportunity there to see, the start from inside the car here with Montoya. He gets off the line, comes into the first corner of Copse, but unfortunately he gets there and gets clipped. And it looks like Villeneuve just runs into the side of him, and that's a situation that he will tell us all about.
I'll tell you what, Juan Pablo can tell us at first hand exactly what happened there, with maybe some junior involvement as well. Problems at the start, but you survived them.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame because we had a great car. Got off the line pretty decent. I think BMW had a nice start and got ahead of us. And I thought I was going to get a run on them out of the corner, and as I went for the inside, Villeneuve just came rumbling down and broke, you know, all the side pod and floor and everything. So it's a bit disappointing.
Here it is again, if it reveals any more to you.
Yeah, it felt pretty bad. I thought I was going to be out of the race, to be honest. It got to a point I thought there's no way the car was going to survive.
Juan, just explain, though, you know it's like there as a driver inside the cockpit. When you get hit, what goes through your mind then? Because you need to reassess how good the car is, and can you push it into the next corner? You then approach that Beckett's complex, 180 miles an hour.
I know, you kind of whip the car a little bit, and he says, well, we should do. And, you know, you're at the same time, you know, shouting in the radio saying, is it going to stay or no? You know, somebody hit me, and they're just looking at all the information, and it's pretty exciting.
There'll be a hole in our mic in a minute, but there was a decent hole in the side pod of the car. I think we can see a shot of that now. Were you aware of how bad the damage was?
No, but I knew it was something wrong with the car because it was pulling one way and everything. They hit me at side pod, rear tire, everything, but you know, it's good. We scored good points, looked after the engine, so we should be pretty good for the next race.
But once again, respect to Renault today, and respect to Fernando Alonso. What is the mood inside McLaren at the moment?
I think it's okay. You know, I think my car should have been very good in race pace. It's a shame, you know, off the line I got stuck behind BMWs, and our car was just 10 times quicker. And when I got a clear track, I was cruising and I was doing the same pace as the front runner, so it's a bit disappointing.
thoughts that Kimi might have a little bit more pace towards the end of the race. It never really materialised, did it, from the McLaren point of view?
I don't know. Kimi's setup was, I think, more aggressive than mine. That's why I think in qualifying he was much better off. And mine, you know, we're really focusing on having a very good race car and look after the tyres and everything. And the car was very consistent in the race.
Okay, we might be having a few sound problems. I can't for the life of me imagine why. But Juan Pablo, thanks very much indeed. Let's take you straight to the press conference.
Fernando, that looked to be a perfectly judged win for you, and dare I say it, on home soil in many ways for you.
Yeah, it's true. The victory today was quite okay for us. Yesterday, on pole position, the things became a little bit easier, starting from pole. Then we saw that we had more fuel than the others yesterday in qualifying, so this also helped in terms of strategy and things like that. Tyres performed really well all through the race, so was no many options, I think, for our opponents today to beat us. And this is good news for the rest of the season, but we have to take the advantage now. We have the good car, no problems, no mechanical problems, and we are taking good points step by step.
Your race very much defined by the early phase. A lot of pressure early on from Kimi and Michael, but you managed to pull away 10th by 10th in that early phase of the race.
Yeah, first 2 laps after the safety car, Kimi was really quick. We had a little bit too much on the steer. We prepared the car to be quick at the end of the stints, and you know, lap by lap the car was feeling better and better. So I built a gap at the first stint, and then I controlled a little bit the rest of the race. Some graining problems in the second stint, but nothing big. And as I said, tyres again perfect today. And thanks to all the team, all the mechanics, all the tyres. The victory is in our hands again.
How does it feel to win here at Silverstone in Britain?
Fantastic. To be honest, winning Spain, Monaco and Silverstone, for me the last 3 races is a dream come true. There are circuits with big names and big emotion on the grandstand, great atmosphere in this circuits about Formula 1, and to win in this country 20 minutes away from my home in Oxford is for me a really good feeling and a fantastic day.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Michael, great drive to second place, taking second place in the second pit stops there, but very, very close racing with Kimi right at the start. Almost touch wheels going into Abbey?
Touch side pods, I'd say. He came more and more over, and I was obviously already at the limit of the circuit. He didn't want to give me the inside, so I had to try the outside. Nevertheless, worked out fine. We got stuck, obviously, in the early stage of the race, but nevertheless, we have to say that we weren't quick enough this weekend, but we'll keep on working on that.
That was a great period of the race, though, for you when you did take second place from Kimi. Talk us through that. Very quick on that lap after your tyre change, purple in sectors 2 and 3, fastest in sectors 2 and 3.
Well, I mean, we knew we had 2 sets of new tyres left. We knew that all the other guys choose to use their new set at the start, so they had no new set left. So that was the only strategy we could pull out to come a lap early and have a free lap of traffic and build a gap to Kimi and then at least get in second.
Very well done. Turning to you, Kimi, it was very close with Michael there going into Abbey. What was it like in that early phase of the race for you with Michael and also with Fernando just in front of you?
We were a bit too slow really on a straight line to challenge anyone. I got quite close to Fernando after the safety car and also on the first lap, but I just couldn't pass him, and then I was in front of Michael, and I even didn't notice that it got so close, but we didn't hit each other, so it was good. So not the easy race, not quick enough, so it wasn't much what I could have done. So I did the best what I could, and we finished third. So I think so that's the maximum what we could have done today.
A good podium finish for you, but for Giancarlo Fisichella, very close to you in the closing stages. What condition was your car in at that point?
It wasn't perfect. I lost the rear end a little bit in the end of the race, and I almost got the lap traffic in the first sector, and Fisichella was always very quick through there, so it was sometimes a bit difficult when you follow someone, and on the back straight he was quick. So it wasn't too much problem, but could have done without it also. So I'm happy with the third place.
Well done. Fernando, just returning to you, the run goes on, the incredible reliability, the string of podium finishes for you, 8 in a row now. It's an amazing season.
Yeah, so far has been fantastic. 3 wins on 3 seconds. Obviously, there is nothing more to find. I think in the car we are running on the limits on our car. No mechanical problems. Fantastic job from all the people in the team. And for sure we need to keep doing like this. I think the best defense from now on will be attacking and keep winning races, and is what we have to do.
Well, we've heard there from Fernando Alonso exactly what this victory means, living as he does just 20 minutes from the circuit at his home in Oxford. Let's hear what it means on behalf of Renault with Pat Simmons, with the factory just down the road, a home Grand Prix, and so important, this success.
Yeah, absolutely. We seem to have a lot of home Grand Prix at Renault, but we enjoy them all. I think this one particularly, a lot of guys at Enstone put in a lot of work for this victory and all our other victories. So nice that they're all here this weekend watching it.
Tell us about the plan you had heading into this race and exactly how well it worked.
Well, I think heading into this race, even before we'd had practice and everything, we'd had a good test here. We knew we could be competitive. We had a lot of confidence in the tyres. We felt that we had to go long on our strategies. In spite of that, very, very happy to get pole. That was probably the hardest bit. And from there on, for once, it actually got easier.
Pat, I mean, you're so impressive now, Renault, Alonso, that package. You go back tomorrow, Monday, probably take the day off, but really, where do you go from here? I mean, how do you make more improvements on what you're already doing?
Well, we certainly don't take the day off, otherwise we wouldn't make the improvements. So, full day tomorrow, keep on pushing, new aero tweaks, push on the engine, push on the chassis. We're testing in Monza next week, looking at setups for Indianapolis. It's constant, and that's the way to win.
Well, you must be very satisfied to see the manner in which Fernando got into the lead, got off the start line, then out came the safety car, little period behind the safety car, with Fernando controlling things at the front. Now tell us about the way Fernando handles the restart and any sort of question marks that might be over this.
Well, I don't think there are any question marks. The rules say that the leader has to set the pace. I think he has a responsibility to do it safely. He did it safely at a low speed. Gave plenty of time for people to get their tyres warm, get their brakes warm, which indeed he did. And I think he handled it very well.
He's very good at that, isn't he? Is there a feeling that maybe the leader should have the advantage and this is a way that a leader can consolidate his advantage on a restart?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we should be regarding the safety car as giving an advantage or a disadvantage. It's there for a reason. It's there to control the pace under dangerous conditions. Like any part of racing, every little bit that happens to you, you've got to take advantage of. You've got to work at it. You've got to understand it. Fernando does it very well.
And if this weekend just couldn't get any better, I think it's your birthday as well, isn't it, Pat?
It certainly is. Nice birthday present.
How are you going to celebrate in the motorhome afterwards?
Oh, I'm sure we will.
Pat, well done, and congratulations to everyone at Renault. OK, let's get some more opinions from, where are we heading? Ross Brawn at Ferrari.
Well, Ross, it was absolutely incredible the way Michael managed to do Raikkonen, but not the ultimate result you wanted.
No, we were a bit fearful with Kimi in between us that it was going to cause a problem, and that's what happened. I mean, Fernando was very, very quick today, and I'm not sure we could have done anything, but obviously we never got close enough to find out. And Kimi just was slightly off the pace in the middle of the race, so until we got past the last stop, it was very frustrating. But Michael had a great little stint around the last stop to do it. The team did a great job, so we're not too unhappy, but not quite where we want to be.
You said to me earlier in the weekend, second won't be good enough. It's not really good enough for the championship, is it?
No, of course it's going in the wrong direction, and Fernando is a tremendous competitor. So, we have a really tough battle, but at least it's only 2 points. And it looked a little bit worse than that at the beginning of the race. I think Canada and America are going to be interesting. 2 flyaway races, high-speed tracks. We've got very, very good straight-line speed with the car, and 2 tracks where that's critical. So we'll keep trying until we can't do it.
Ross Brawn saying he's not too unhappy, but he also may be starting to concede that this championship is slipping away.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, there's just a little bit of an area there where Ross is. Yes, he's always positive and he knows there's work to be done. And as you heard from Pat Simmons, an immense amount of work to be done. But you do get that feel that maybe Ferrari are just getting to the point where they know they can't get what they need, and that's points, and the valuable points of winning races.
But I tell you what, we were expecting to see determination from Michael Schumacher. We certainly did in those opening laps, and that close encounter with Kimi Räikkönen. My goodness, it was close, wasn't it?
Very close. As close as you're ever going to get without there being in contact between two guys. But that's the professionalism and the ability of these drivers. Kimi Räikkönen positions himself in the middle of the circuit, as he's entitled to do. Schumacher goes a long way around, and look at this. That's precision driving, and that's determination at its best. But, you know, Kimi, 10 out of 10, and also Michael, he just decided to back off. The right thing to do.
Yeah, what sort of driver respect is involved in a moment like that?
A huge amount. Those guys have got immense respect for each other, obviously, but there's a fair amount of skill involved when you've got two cars 170, 180 miles an hour there, just maybe millimetres away from each other.
Okay, let's give you a quick check on the Drivers' Championship and to show how Fernando Alonso has consolidated his position at the top still further with this victory. 74 points is against 51, his lead now over Michael Schumacher. Kimi Räikkönen moving alone into third, ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella, then Montoya, Massa, Poro, Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello. But Fernando Alonso well ahead as we head to round 9 in Canada. Is there anything the rest can do about it?
At this moment in time, I don't think there's anything anybody can do about it. And we're going to turn up at the circuit in Canada where Renault will be suited 100% again.
Okay, we shall discuss this British Grand Prix a little bit more in a few minutes' time. Everyone here expressing their admiration for Fernando Alonso, winner of this British Grand Prix, but also expressing their sympathy, I suppose, for Jenson Button, who was forced to start this race from back in 19th position, was going well for a few laps. We had high hopes of a points finish, and then this happened.
Yeah, and, you know, we knocked off the beginning of the show and said he'd make some progress, and Jenson did that for us. He made some huge progress, but this happened not that long into the race. The engine's let go, locks up, spins him around, and that's the end of his race. It's a crying shame, and I think everybody in the crowd will be feeling for him, but Jenson now goes away, has to rekindle his thoughts and see what he can do for the future.
Sympathy for Jenson, sympathy for Honda as well. Let's hear from Gilles de Ferran right now.
Yes, Steve, and down here with Gilles, and for a Brazilian wearing an England sticker is a bit of a surprise, but Gilles, pretty miserable afternoon. Just clear up exactly what failed on Jenson's car.
It was an oil leak on Jenson's car, and it was a shame because he certainly had a good start to the race. I mean, climbing all the way up to 12th early on, and you know, I guess we'll never know what would have happened from there. But it was a real shame.
So, did the lack of oil make the engine blow up, or is the engine okay?
No, we don't know exactly what happened to the engine. I think the engine is okay, but what made him spin was an oil leak. Oil went to the tires, and that was the end of that. Really, that was. What happened? We don't know exactly where the oil leak came from yet because we haven't had the car back yet.
And no points for Rubens as well. What happened there?
I mean, we certainly had a tough afternoon overall. I mean, not only with what happened with Jenson, but Rubens was struggling with the car balance all day, and we couldn't do much to help. And that was it, really.
Is Canada going to be any better? Because what with this and the problem in qualifying for Jenson yesterday, Silverstone a weekend to forget.
I think we definitely have some homework to do, you know, and try to push ahead to Canada. I mean, we need to come back to base here on tomorrow and put our heads together, see what we can do to improve before Canada.
Okay, good luck. Thanks, Joe.
Well, I suppose if anyone had a worse weekend than Jenson Button, it will be Mark Webber at Williams, qualifying 3 rows from the back and not even getting through the first lap. How guilty was Scott Speed in this incident?
I think Scott is the guilty party in this, but I think it's probably one of those situations where it's just a bit of an unfortunate racing incident. He was obviously in the turn and just got a bit tight there with Ralf Schumacher, but unfortunately there, Webber collected Schumacher. Mark had nowhere to go. Scott Speed, yeah, I think he'd have to be looked at. It's not one of those big problems that is going to get a penalty from my point of view from the FIA. I think they put it down to a racing incident, Steve.
But has Scott got to just calm it down a wee bit, has he?
Well, I think he's just got to have a little bit more depth to him when he gets out there. He is on the first lap and there's plenty of laps to go, and he's going to get caught out time and time again if he's got that kind of attitude on the circuit.
By contrast, a quieter race for David Coulthard, and he's standing by with our pit stop lady, Louise.
David, tough race?
Yeah, it was. We had so much understeer. It was incredible. I went up 2% on the aero, 1% to each of the stops, which that's a big number in aero balance. So complete opposite balance to what we had in practice and qualifying. So a bit surprised, and obviously we just didn't have the pace.
So really, it was just a struggle to get it home.
Yeah, just that's our pace, and as we said, mechanically we perform quite well. Aero efficiency-wise, what you need around a circuit like this, we don't have it at the moment. We can't hide from it. You don't go from being competitive in Monaco to struggling here without. If you look at Toro Rosso as well, they were much closer to us on this track. So yeah, we know we've got work to do, but that's what the team's knuckled down to do. So I look forward to testing next week in Monza.
Bit of a disappointing weekend all round at the British Grand Prix for the British drivers then.
Yeah, I heard Jensen obviously went out early on and he had a nightmare qualifying. We've got to take the good with the bad sometimes. So I'm obviously working to develop this car. The team are all motivated to do so. It will take time, but I believe next year we'll take a big step forward because of everything that we're learning, all the new people working together. In Jensen's case, I don't know what they've got up the sleeve. On the face of it, it doesn't look like as much as we have.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
And Mark, spectators coming away from this Silverstone Grand Prix saying, great, but where is the British talent? Do you feel good about the future the next couple of seasons?
Definitely so. I think we've got some huge talent coming through in the lower ranks. You've got people like Gary Paffett, Lewis Hamilton, Adam Carroll, Mike Conway. All these guys are going to be in Formula One in the near future. But at this moment in time, Jensen Button, David Coulthard are flying our flag. They just haven't got the equipment underneath them. And I feel for Jensen, I feel for David, but at the end of the day, they've got to go back tomorrow and do what Pat Simmons said earlier. Keep working and get on the programme.
Some great British drivers have been nurtured down the years at McLaren. Let's get a few thoughts from the McLaren camp. Martin Whitmarsh.
Well, Martin, Ron told us in the middle of the race it would be interesting and tight with Michael, but not the result you wanted with Kimi anyway.
No, I mean, we've got to go away and analyse it. I think Kimi's pace in the first sector of the race was good. I think through the second and third it wasn't good enough to stay in front of Michael. It's as simple as that. And it was tight. I think Michael obviously had a good in and out lap, good stop by them. I think we had a pretty good stop. I think we've got to go and analyse that. But obviously we just missed out at that second stop. Thereafter, of course, everyone's either conserving their engine for the next race or they're conserving the end of the life of the engine. So a bit disappointing, but at least it was a podium. Frankly, we were under some threat from Fisichella at the end of the race, so we had to push pretty hard to make sure we kept that third place.
Well, we've seen how Fernando Alonso is dominating the Drivers' Championship. Needless to say, it's a similar picture on behalf of Renault in the Constructors' Championship. There's their lead, 31 points over Ferrari, with McLaren in third. Renault leading both championships, and of course their World Championship winners in both a season ago. Okay, talking of winners, here's one more chance for you in our ITV F1 competition.
To celebrate the release of Cars, the new animated film from the creators of Toy Story on the 28th of July, Walt Disney Pictures and Pixar Animation Studios are offering you and a friend a chance to attend the United States Grand Prix on the 2nd of July. You'll fly to Indy, stay 2 nights in a 4-star hotel and watch the race from the paddock penthouse.
Bob, my oil pressure's through the roof right now. If this gets any more exciting, they're going to have to tow me out of the booth.
You'll then fly on to San Francisco for a further 3-night stay, taking in an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of the Pixar Animation Studios. And as if that wasn't enough, you'll also get a PSP console, a Cars video game, and some special merchandise thrown in.
Oh, he's got it in the bag. Call in the dogs, put out the fire. We're going to crown us a new champion.
To be in with a chance of winning this fantastic prize, just answer this easy question. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is in which US state? Is it A, Nevada, B, Kentucky, or C, Indiana? The number to call is 0901 293 2020, or you can text F1 plus A, B or C to 63337. Calls and texts cost £1 per entry plus the standard network rate. Lines close at midnight on Thursday the 22nd of June, and we'll announce the winner in Canada.
And good luck with that. Before we go, one more check on the result of this British Grand Prix at Silverstone today. And a marvellous win by Fernando Alonso over Michael Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen. And Alonso, finally, Mark Blundell, has proved what today?
He's proved that he's the best in the world, and that's basically what I've seen today. I've seen the world's best drivers, the 3 of them up there, Alonso, Schumacher, Raikkonen, and the result shows who's come out on top. Alonso is the cream at the moment. I don't see anybody to touch him, Steve.
So you don't feel it's going to change in Montreal or even at Indianapolis beyond that?
I really don't. I don't think, you know, Ferrari are normally strong at Montreal, let's not forget that, but I don't see anybody beating that Renault car or Alonso plugged into it. It's a formidable combination.
OK, Mark, thanks very much indeed. Well, that's the British Grand Prix, but of course there is plenty more sport coming up on ITV over the next few days, the next few weeks. Our next World Cup action, that'll be the fascinating match, Angola against Portugal at 7:45, and we'll have the full story from Silverstone in our highlights at midnight. A lot of World Cup football next week, of course, but we pick out ITV's live coverage of England's match against Trinidad and Tobago on Thursday. Victory and England will be through to the knockout stages. Then next, motorsport, Formula One, Canada in 2 weeks' time. Qualifying in the evening, the race live, but make sure you watch the amazing Lewis Hamilton in GP2, a double winner here at Silverstone. We'll have the full story next weekend. Lewis Hamilton in brilliant form this weekend. Well, he's the future, but today Fernando Alonso has lifted the bar still further. He's set the current standard. Fernando Alonso, world champion, world championship leader, wins his first British Grand Prix. From us all here at Silverstone, it's goodbye.